Jam-packed show because a lot of press conferences coming up later on in the show, just as there were yesterday. And we will have the same thing today. Chiefs press conferences it is conference championship week, so the NFL takes over. That means Andy Reid will talk again today, along with the coordinators, Dave Tobe, Steve Spagnuolo, Matt Nagy. Patrick Mahomes will talk again today, along with Rashee Rice and Nick Bolton. And then locker room sound as well. So all that comes your way about 11:50 or so. So we'll hear from Andy Reid, the coordinators, Patrick Mahomes, Rashee Rice, and Nick Bolton. A lot of those press conferences yesterday that you heard right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. You'll hear them once again today. We will talk with Kent Swanson coming up an hour from now, KC Sports Network, the KC Laboratory Podcast. Get his thoughts on this Chiefs team getting ready for the Baltimore Ravens and taking on the number one team in the AFC, heading on the road yet again. An MVP quarterback in Lamar Jackson getting ready to win his second MVP, and the Chiefs yet again underdogs in this game. So we'll talk with Ken Swanson what he likes about this team and what he thinks of the matchup with the Baltimore Ravens coming up. That is at 11 o'clock. And then we'll play some sports or leisure today in the 1 o'clock hour. A little SOL, and we'll give away $25 to Johnny's Tavern to those that get a sports and a leisure question right. We will do that coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. 913-912-4810, text line to join us. 913-912-4810 to text in to be a part of the show, part of the conversation if you want to do that. Try to get into some texts as well as we roll along. Josh, thank you for filling in yesterday. Appreciate it, man.
Absolutely. I'm glad that it was a short stint on the injury report for you.
That's
right. Hoping that you don't have one of those things where you get re-injured in the first quarter today, but if so, next man up.
It's close to the neck area, so it's not exactly like the Willie Gay issue.
That is. I think you could be wearing that concussion band that Drew Tranquil wears that supposedly prevents concussions but doesn't actually prevent concussions. It might be just as effective at preventing strep or whatever else.
Name the concussion that Drew Tranquil suffered this year.
Yeah, I can't think of two.
Name 3 or 4 different concussions.
I can't think of 3 or 4
that he suffered.
This is questionable science. It's a great fashion accessory, though.
It looks cool.
It's like bringing back the neck roll, but also not really helping.
It's the year 2023 neck roll from when you said, technology is going to, in the 80s, you're like, technology and shoulder pads and helmets, they are going to be advanced. In fact, there's going to be a neck roll that looks like a necklace.
And it's going to prevent concussions. It's going to be incredible. It's going to have ions or whatever.
Yeah, there's ions in there.
There's cells.
Some crystals and things like that.
There's some crystal that you inject in your neck. It doesn't seem...
Mercury. I don't know. Some arsenic maybe in there. It kills the concussion.
That's right. We've learned a lot about concussions since this year, 1980, that we're currently in.
Yeah, I mean, who would have thought putting a little arsenic in your neck?
Just
no more concussions.
But it promotes blood flow and kills concussions.
That's exactly right. Yeah, I mean, how did we not know that back then? Apparently, people tried.
The neck roll. The neck roll couldn't have been preventing anything either, right? I mean, you're getting your neck snapped back a certain. The shelf is one thing. The Tranquil band is like the neck shelf for a coverage linebacker. It's like a little extra swag.
It's the wide receiver shoulder pads.
Yeah.
You need more room, more range of movement. That's what you need in your neck. So we will hear from the Chiefs, play some sports or leisure. Take your texts at 913-912-4810. Do want to go over real quick as we get into the show the injury report from yesterday.
Because it kept
came out.
Changing.
No doubt. Injury report from yesterday. Trey Smith, Joe Thuney, Pacheco, Nadi, and Edwards did not practice. I'm not worried about Pacheco. Mm-hmm. He played the whole game. He was fine after the game. There wasn't any issue of he was limping off the field or didn't play late. I mean, he got the last 2 carries of the football and did his usual jumping up and celebrating and things like that. Trey Smith illness, not worried about that.
Yep.
We've all had those yesterday. Joe Thuney, pectoral, worried about that, no doubt. Nadi missed last week, did not practice. I'm not expecting him to play. It would be nice if Derek Nadi was out there. Mike Edwards still in concussion protocol. Yes, concerned about that.
Yep.
The other limited participants, I think it's a big issue. Blaine Gabbert limited yesterday with an oblique injury.
I just want to know where that injury came from.
No doubt.
That happened during practice, or he hurt himself celebrating?
Tyler Bass, the kick goes wide right, and he jumps up and pumps his fist in the air. Oh! Ooh, my goodness. I have not stretched in a while. Oof, that one hurts. Wanya Morris still in concussion protocol, but a full participant yesterday. And then the other full participants, Rice, Tony, MVS, Aminihu, McDuffie, Joshua Williams.
Tony probably won't be limited until Friday, and then he'll be ruled out with whatever that injury was.
Hip.
It's just hip now, though.
It is just a hip.
It's been
so
hip/other stuff for most of the year, I think.
hip other.
Hip/other, yeah.
Hip/other. And then Sky Moore did not practice. And Prince Tega Winoga was a full participant yesterday, even on the injured reserve. I didn't expect to see him back this year, but I thought that was interesting. The Ravens, a much more limited injury report. As we talked about on Monday, Tuesday, this week is leading into the conversation that is the opposite of what we had the last couple of weeks with injuries. Because the Ravens are getting healthier. Mark Andrews was a full participant yesterday. Marlon Humphrey, while not practicing last week, was limited yesterday. So getting those two guys back would be massive for the Ravens. They're getting healthier. Chiefs are getting more banged up. The task becomes a little more daunting for the Chiefs if these injuries stay the way that they are. If Andrews and Marlon Humphrey return and the Chiefs are without, Tooney and I'll say Willie Gay and Mike Edwards, some of those main ones. And
and certainly Noddy again, as we expect.
Yeah, I don't expect Noddy to be out there. So he didn't play last week. I'm just sort of counting on him not being out there. That's that can be a big deal depending on who steps up and plays better. They stepped up and played well against the run late in that game. Mm-hmm. So whatever they were doing the first three quarters, if they can tap into what they did later on, that would be great to start this game. I don't know how much the weather will affect the game. It looks like rain all day in Baltimore, rain throughout the game. Whether that's going to come down heavy or light, I'm expecting it to be a little bit like the weather is today. Mm-hmm. This is what I think the weather in Baltimore is going to be coming up on Sunday. What's it, 37 degrees right now, roughly? It's going to be around 40 degrees there in Baltimore. Rain, drizzle, rain. And we'll get into it, but I actually think it benefits the Chiefs. And I'll explain as we continue rolling along as to why I think it benefits the Chiefs.
Did the Ravens just trade for Brock Purdy this weekend? I missed that. A quarterback swap.
Look at that. They did, but he actually puts his pants on differently.
Wow, interesting.
So that's odd. He wears gloves when he puts his pants on.
He probably should.
Then he takes the glove off while putting his pants on. It's a very different way of getting dressed.
That's exactly what Shanahan told him to do, so that's how he's going to do it.
Exactly right. Before we get into the Chiefs, I did want to start with K-State, Iowa State last night. And, boy, at least all three teams now have had some sort of a conversation that takes place after the game that doesn't have to do with the actual game or what took place for 40 minutes. Yeah. I mean, KU with the flagrant foul in TCU was all the conversation, not about what took place in the other 39 minutes and 55 seconds. It was about that flagrant foul. Was it a flagrant foul? Should it have been called? Should it not have been called? What if it was different? If it was Hunter Dickinson that was throwing the elbow, would people have said, no, that's the right call? Hunter Dickinson flopping, whatever. Did he travel later on? Did he push off? That was sort of the conversation around that. At least it was more about basketball than what has taken place with Mizzou and now K-State. And with Mizzou, you get the coach pushing a player in Aiden Shaw and coach your own team, and it should have been a technical. It was not a technical. It's interesting that you've got a coach in Alabama in Nate Oates that can put his hand on an opposing player and wave his hand to and touching the player to push him away.
Create separation.
That's right.
DPI.
And then you've got an opposing coach in Jerome Tang that waves his hand, not touching anybody, and then that results in a technical foul. One was a technical, one was not. Thought that was pretty interesting when that took place. But then last night in Ames, something happened behind the bench. Something had to break the window. Something had to smash the stereo. And why are their mouths all dirty, Todd? Because they live in Iowa, Margot. Not sure what that has to do with anything. But
it always has to do with everything.
Something took place behind the bench and then over in the student section. Because, let's be honest, K-State's played in some environments where they've heard some things from fans. Mm-hmm. I don't think Jerome Tang has virgin ears that he's like, what did that person, did you take the Lord's name in vain? Did you say the F word?
To go to HE double hockey sticks?
Sir, that person should be ejected. They said heck.
That's what Luka Doncic actually did last night, but that's neither here nor there.
Besides the point. I'm not sure what happened, and neither coach wanted to talk about it. Jerome Tang didn't want to talk about it. He talked about the technical foul, saying he didn't say anything. He just waved his arm, and I guess next time I won't wave my arm. That's right. Lesson learned, Jerome.
Hands in pockets.
Lesson learned. If you just saw the final score, you would think that Iowa State controlled the game, and it wasn't all that close, even though it was very close. K-State had plenty of opportunities, and it was, a 2-point game with 2 minutes to go. And then it got away from them. And Iowa State had the, avalanche, the whatever one run that they, at one point it was a 13-1 run, and that was with the when the technical foul happened. I don't know what took place in the stands that made Jerome Tang so upset. But I love when the opposing coach gets mad when a coach comes over to try to talk to him. And Otzelberger was like, listening to him. And then the officials came and pushed Jerome Tang away. And Jerome Tang was like, I can't go and talk to him. So they push him away. And then Otzelberger gets mad. Like, it was almost like Otzelberger was waiting for the officials. Like, it was a baseball fight for Otzelberger.
Hold me back.
I'm going to get pissed off once the refs come over. He was listening. Jerome Tang was pointing, was demonstrative, was, animated in his frustrations with what was going on. And Otzelberger got a warning early in the game from being outside the box. And so Otzelberger was mad. Why didn't he get a technical warning? He was outside the box, came over to talk to me. Well, there's sort of a difference of you being outside the box and on the floor, talking to the officials and mad about something, as opposed to Jerome Tang going down to try to have a conversation in a timeout with you. Jerome Tang wouldn't talk about it. Otzelberger wouldn't talk about it. But now we have all three schools that have something outside of, the course of the game that's a bigger issue, that's more of a talking point, and the takeaway from the game rather than what took place throughout the game and how each team played. And the fact that K-State went there to Ames and played their asses off. And we're close to winning there in Iowa. And KU's got that task ahead of them in a couple of days, too. On Saturday, that game is at 12:30 on CBS and pregame at 11 o'clock right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. So they'll have to go there. But I would love to know what took place because a couple of different times they were upset about it. They were pointing to different places of what happened.
It's also just what a dramatic conference it's going to be this year because we didn't even get to horns down again.
That's right.
The Big 12 has been unnecessarily emotional and unnecessarily extra on at least 3 or 4 occasions, and it's late January.
Or necessarily. Yes,
extra.
Yes, some would say.
That's we should start keeping I got a little whiteboard down there. I can bring down just this many days until a local team off-court spat or a Big 12 conference men's basketball incident. We'd be at 0 more often than not, it feels like right now. It's really weird, and I tend to think Jerome Tang probably reacts to things in a relatively level-headed manner.
Yeah.
So with limited information,
I'm going to side on this one with Jerome Tang.
That feels like a safe bet.
Yeah. I'm pretty sure they've heard some things when they were in Lawrence.
Yeah, I bet so. I bet so.
I'm sure they've heard some things when they were at West Virginia.
Yeah, they can talk.
Come on.
They've heard things when they were in Iowa, at Iowa State.
Exactly. This ain't the first time.
This isn't his first time.
Yeah, you're right about that. I was disappointed in Todd's Oklahoma Sooners on Tuesday night. I really, really needed them to win so they can throw the horns down to Texas.
Oh, man.
And the fact that they couldn't do that because they just, got beat down by Texas, like, whatever, Todd. Grow a pair, dude. Todd specifically, and then Oklahoma's team.
Specifically, Lebo. Thankfully, no one from Texas or any of their fans or anyone in the arena ever put the horns up, right? Because that would be
I can't imagine they would.
Classless.
They also just sort
offensive.
They were very subdued in their reaction of the handshake line. Almost sleepy, some would say.
Good. They expect to win.
They expected to win.
Does it mean more for teams that are staying in the Big 12 to throw the horns down? Because Oklahoma's going to get to do it all the time. So it's more.
But the SEC just means more.
It does mean more. I thought that's where you're going because it was Texas and Oklahoma and they're heading the SEC.
That game means more.
Josh is right.
Once you said, does it mean more, and it's 2 teams heading the SEC, I thought that's exactly where you're heading.
Unfortunately for us, nothing in the Big 12 means as much as anything in the SEC. It's really hard for us to come to terms with, but we here in the little Big 12 have accepted it.
Josh just took the rebound off the rim.
It was an easy putback, yeah.
Easy putback and horns down, mother bleepers.
When it comes to football, it does just mean more. So
I mean,
we are all aware of that.
In fairness, I was talking basketball, so
that's right. It means a lot to both teams coming up on Sunday in Baltimore. Yeah. I don't know that it means more to one team or another. Just to draw the segue into what we're going to be talking about here with the Chiefs. But I do think there's more pressure on one side. I thought one of the issues that the Bills' mistake mistakenly did last week was try to act like the pressure was on the Chiefs. That, well, good luck. The pressure's on them. They have to go on the road. I thought that was a mistake last week because I don't know if the Bills felt it inside their locker room that, hey, the pressure's on and we got to go out there. No, they're coming on the road. They're coming into our place. I mean, do you take something for granted? I don't know. I'm not saying that they, didn't show up for the game or anything, but I thought, the way they sort of acted, it was a mistake in thinking that the Chiefs were the ones that had all the pressure. Because the Chiefs are the reigning Super Bowl champions. And now the Chiefs have been to 6 straight AFC championship games. To me, the pressure is on one side. Because if Patrick Mahomes wins this game, it's Lamar Jackson having just a couple of wins in the postseason, and he beat a Houston team. That was a fun story, but then when it came time to beating a champion, and we'll see how he plays, I know it's the Ravens overall, but let's be honest, it's Lamar Jackson. It's Patrick Mahomes, just as it was Josh Allen and it was Patrick Mahomes last week. I do wonder if Lamar Jackson plays well and loses, will he get the benefit of the doubt the way that Josh Allen has been getting the benefit of the doubt when he plays well in a loss? Like, what more could Josh Allen do? I mean, what more could he do? Guy who everything could possibly do.
It's a really interesting question, Jason. Why might Lamar Jackson not get all of those same defenders?
Because he can't throw.
Oh.
He actually, turns out, they talked about it yesterday. Turns out he just figured out last week he's left-handed.
It really, I mean,
the whole time.
Imagine the neck sleep he'll make.
The whole time he's been left-handed. I don't know what's going to take place in this game, but the pressure is on the Ravens, and it's on Lamar Jackson. The Chiefs will not go into this game thinking they're playing with house money. There's no way, shape, or form they will do that. The Ravens are not playing with house money because they just got to the table.
Yep.
Or, you know what? Check that. They've been at the table and they've lost a number of times.
And their stack this year is increasing a little bit,
that's right.
But that's just their money.
It's still their money that they're playing with. And when it gets late, and if it's a close game, we'll see how Lamar reacts. We'll see how the Ravens react. I think getting an early lead will be important for the Chiefs. I think playing from ahead would be important for the Chiefs. They played from behind the entire game almost against the Bills. And they took the lead for the final time, or for the first time in the fourth quarter with Isaiah Pacheco's touchdown to put them up 27-24. So first time they had the lead in the game. Right? Or were they up 13-10? They were up 13-10.
I have to double check. I got you.
They were up 13-10.
Was it 13-10?
13-10. So they had the lead for 2 minutes.
I was going to say 3 minutes. So yeah, fair enough.
Yeah, so they had the lead for 2-3 minutes. So they did. So they took the lead and then couldn't get the stop on the Bills. They went down and scored and then finally got the lead again in the fourth quarter. But that was a perfect game script for the Bills. Again, they ran 78 plays. So it was a perfect game script. They weren't trying to make a big comeback or anything like that. What the Chiefs have to avoid is what we've seen in a couple of games for the Ravens that has put the Ravens in a category of team that, are they the best team in the AFC right now? Look at how they dominated the 49ers. Look at how they dominated the Miami Dolphins. When, Miami had a lot to play for there. They could have won the division if they won that game. They still had a game next week against Buffalo to win the division. But Miami's going into that game, and Baltimore just simply destroys the Miami Dolphins. The Chiefs have to avoid what was the recipe for the Baltimore Ravens in how they ended up blowing those teams out. And that's a lot of short fields. Mm-hmm. A lot of short fields. And that's where the Ravens defense, as good as they are, and special teams have really come into play. But if you make the Ravens offense continue to play, if you flip the game script with Chiefs and Bills to this weekend where the Chiefs take an early lead, and then Baltimore gets a field goal, then the Chiefs extend the lead, and then Baltimore gets a field goal, and back and forth like that. What happens as the game goes along? Is Baltimore still there in the end scoring and playing at an offensive way if the Chiefs are running 70 plays and the Ravens are running 40-something plays against the Chiefs defense? I would doubt that would be the case if the game script flipped. I also don't think the Chiefs are running 70 plays against the Ravens defense.
And figuring out how in any of these little peaks of the game, one thing that never happened against Buffalo is the snowball never completely rolled out in front of them, right? Mm-hmm. You never all of a sudden had the avalanche. And I think the Bills, in theory, are a team that should be able to avalanche you if they get the nose in front and then take off because big plays should be there. They really are for Baltimore. And this Chiefs defense has been so good at keeping the cap on. So good at even when the offense has given the opposing teams this year short fields. Even whenever they have been underwhelming and shooting themselves in the foot. The defense has been there to bail them out. I believe in this Chiefs defense. Have for a long time. I'm going to keep riding that until the season ends. But I do not want to see them backed up in a way where it's like, hey, we're going to need you to make 3 incredible drive inning stops in a row, and all of that might just be to hold even. The Chiefs offense has to be able to also be the aggressor there, which is why I think this game, we were excited for Chiefs Bills.
Yeah.
This game is perfect because both sides of the ball for both teams have reasons they could win or lose this game.
And we were excited for Chiefs Bills because we hadn't seen the Chiefs go on the road. Mm-hmm. We know what it looks like when the Chiefs go on the road in the playoffs, and Patrick Mahomes on the road in the playoffs. So do the Ravens. So do the rest of the league now. We'll see. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. I do want to talk a little bit about the Ravens, 49ers, Ravens, Dolphins, what happened in those games as to why the score is so lopsided where you look at it and go, good God. When they did that to the 49ers, they did that to the Dolphins. I mean, what this game can get out of hand. We'll talk a little bit about that. Lamar Jackson matching up with Patrick Mahomes. Roquan Smith discussing how Patrick Mahomes gets dressed. Shamari Connor in the locker room yesterday talking about recovering a fumble and a number of other things we'll get into. Kent Swanson coming up at 11 o'clock. Chiefs press conference at Sports or Leisure More Zone on a Thursday. All right, we'll continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson with you, Josh Brisco, Dylan Michaels. We'll talk with Ken Swanson coming up at 11 o'clock. Let's hear from Lamar Jackson yesterday at the press conference. I love the honesty here, how candid he is. But Lamar Jackson asked about matching up with Patrick Mahomes in the playoffs.
I don't like competing against him at all. But yeah, I mean, he's a great quarterback. Definitely a Hall of Famer. It's not even it's a no-brainer. He's definitely a Hall of Famer. I believe it's just two greats, up-and-coming greats, just going toe-to-toe. You know, like a heavyweight fight, heavyweight matchup. That's just what I see.
I love the honesty there. I don't like competing against him at all. I mean, and you get the point. Like, obviously, he likes the competition or the challenge. But well, why would I like? I'd rather go up against a crappy quarterback, you know, which is great. And we'll see what happens coming up this weekend. But and obviously a little tongue in cheek with that. I think he's reveling in the opportunity to go out there and I mean, I think we saw after the game was over, just the seriousness in which Lamar Jackson was on the field. There wasn't much celebration after the game was over for him against the Texans, and it was, no, we haven't accomplished anything yet. You know, what are you looking forward to the AFC Championship game? Playing in it. You know, and so this one, I think, letting his hair down a little bit, but there's no doubt. I think they're going to get a focused, motivated. I think they're going to get a good Lamar Jackson. I don't think they're going to get a pee down your leg Lamar Jackson performance this weekend. Hopefully they do. That'd be amazing. That'd be awesome if they did, because then the Chiefs are going to the Super Bowl. I'm just not expecting it. I think the Chiefs are going to have to play awesome football to win.
I had to double check this because I heard this stat in a podcast, and I was going to just say it, and it doesn't sound right, so I found it again, and it's apparently true. Patrick Mahomes and Lamar Jackson on Sunday will play in the first ever playoff matchup of former MVPs, both under the age of 30.
Yeah.
That's crazy, man. That's unbelievable. Did I steal that from you? Did you have that somewhere?
No,
you're like, you mother bleeper.
No.
You took my stat.
No, I had
You got a knowing smile.
No, I had heard that, and if any point it came up, you know, which is awesome.
Well, I brought it up.
Great, yeah.
Thanks, everybody. I did it.
It's one of those things where there's a little nugget there, and it's like, well,
so
if this comes up
good.
in conversation, you know.
But how wild is that?
Yeah.
Like that's so I get it from Lamar's standpoint of like, I don't want to. This is going to be hard, you know.
Yeah.
But there's a real argument that this is the greatest postseason quarterback matchup ever. Obviously, you get your Brady Mannings and everything, but in the primes of their career, so shortly after winning their MVPs, and obviously Lamar's about to win a second. What a matchup! It's incredible.
Yeah, it's the secondary one this weekend behind Goff and Purdy.
Yeah. And like in terms of like the appetizer for a real man, it's the greatest appetizer game ever.
Yeah, I mean, for sure. I mean that's really the entree first. Well, so it's the appetizer, then the entree and dessert.
Yeah, it's all rolled into one.
Yeah, you get the appetizer with the Chiefs, and then the entree and dessert with Goff and Purdy.
If Mahomes and Lamar have like dueling MVP performances, and then that game stinks, the headlines of Purdy Goffle are going to be
oh my goodness,
going to be insufferable. And I know it because I just said it out loud.
Did you think of that before?
I'm gonna write it down. No, I just thought of it.
Wow, that's pretty good.
That's a trademark me.
It's less Goffle than I would have expected it to be.
I appreciate that.
But I like it.
I'll take it.
Roquan Smith was asked yesterday about going up against Patrick Mahomes, and he talks about how Patrick Mahomes gets dressed.
He puts his pants on just like any other quarterback. Yes, he's an elite quarterback, but at the end of the day, we're an elite defense, and that's our job, to stop the opposing offense, and that's our job, play in and play out, and that's what we got to do.
I do agree that not having seen him ever put his pants on, I do agree that he probably puts his pants on the same way as a lot of people. The difference is when his pants are on, he's the best quarterback. That's the difference. It's like, he puts his pants on the same way as every other quarterback. Yeah, but when his pants are on, he's one of the best and maybe the most talented to ever do it.
He puts his pants on the same way we do, but then those become the pants of the greatest quarterback currently living.
I mean, Superman put on a cape the same way we did. But if I jump off this balcony, I'm going straight to the ground and hitting the ground.
That's a perfect analogy.
I mean, Gabbert and Mahomes put their pants on the same way. But when their pants are on and they go out to the field, they are vastly different people when they are going to play. So,
also, I mean, how many ways are there of putting on pants? I feel like there's at most maybe two. I think you're either going one leg, but eventually you got to commit to both legs. You're putting on shorts.
Well, there could be also like, you're fitting into the pants, so you're laying on the bed and sort of trying to slowly pull them up, and then you got to lay on the bed and to button them, and then you stand up, you're like a glove. I've never done that, but I'm saying I've seen, like TV shows and movies where people do that. So that's one way of putting pants on.
You got at least 3 hours. What I do every morning is I like to basically jump rope with my pants until I can just leap straight into them. It's why many times I come in with a horribly mangled nose. It's because you catch those feet wrong and you start your day face planting. It's tough.
The break dancing when they put like the hands and then they jump over the hands,
Yes.
right? That's what you do. You hold the pants and you jump right into them.
It's much easier with like extra large basketball shorts.
Yeah. I actually have a pants putter oner.
Wow.
Pants putter oner in our closet. It just holds the pants out and I just jump right into them.
I thought you were talking about your wife. I didn't think she would appreciate it.
No, she's a pants. Dump that. I'm just joking.
He said dump that, Dylan. What he meant was mark that, please.
No, don't mark that.
We'll see. That's a pretty good joke.
Was it?
She doesn't listen, right? She's busy. She's working.
Joke. It's a joke.
I mean, it was a joke because it wasn't true.
It's obviously a joke.
Well, not because it was funny. It's because it was
All right, how do we recover
not
from
real.
that? You know what? Let's get into the Ravens, how they played against the 49ers and also the Dolphins. Let's do that.
They all put their pants on
transition
before the game.
quickly
At some
from
point.
that. They do. They do put their pants on. San Francisco put their pants on the same way. Brock Purdy puts his pants on the same way as Patrick Mahomes.
I can't believe that's true. I actually now disagree with this. I'm changing my stance.
So against the
My pants stance.
against the Dolphins, it got out of hand. And they scored 56 points against the Dolphins. It was a pretty rough game. This is what the Chiefs have to avoid. And it's obvious, but this is how the Ravens have blown some teams out and how the Chiefs haven't blown some teams out, because the Chiefs aren't getting turnovers and the Ravens got turnovers in clusters in those games. And when you have a team that's getting a little more desperate and trying to force some things, then it can get pretty bad pretty quickly. The last 31 points that the Ravens scored against the Dolphins, they started at the Miami 38-yard line off an interception and scored a touchdown. They started at the Miami 18-yard line after a kickoff return, got into the 18-yard line and scored a touchdown. They started at their own 25 and scored a touchdown, so there's a drive.
It's a real one.
They started at the Miami 32-yard line off of a turnover on downs and got a touchdown. And they started at the Miami 8-yard line on a turnover on downs and got a field goal.
That boy, they're chasing and
and also the Miami 8 was the backups were in at that time, so it wasn't even. I think it was Huntley was in there or Josh Johnson, whoever was in there at the time for Lamar, and they were resting all their starters. They had 3 touchdowns that started at their own 25-yard line. Did the Ravens? So the Dolphins made them go the length of the field, and the Ravens did that. Here's what else you have to avoid. The first drive from their own 25-yard line, they faced a 3rd and 16 at the 19-yard line, and they picked it up. They get a 23-yard play. The second, 75-yard drive was a 75-yard touchdown to Zay Flowers. One play, 75 yards. The third drive that was a touchdown, they had a Justice Hill 41-yard run in which he broke a 41-yarder. I mean, a 75-yarder and a 41-yarder and converting a 3rd and 16 is how they extended those drives. The other ones, they started in Miami territory and scored touchdowns. Against San Francisco, they started at midfield off an interception, scored a touchdown. They started at the San Francisco 20 off an interception and kicked a field goal. They started at the San Francisco 44-yard line off of a punt and a late hit that put them into plus territory. They got a touchdown. And they started at the San Francisco 9 off an interception and scored a touchdown. 3 drives that they had to go the length of the field, started at their own 25, they got 3 field goals. So they got 9 points when they started at their own 25-yard line. One of those field goal drives, 2 defensive penalties. Another field goal drive, they converted a 3rd and 16. And another field goal drive, they had a defensive penalty on 3rd down and then a 34-yard pass to Likely and a 23-yard run to Justice Hill. And they got 9 points out of those. You're talking about 55 points in those two games against San Francisco and Miami. 55 points. Excuse me, 47 points. 47 points scored in those two games that were off of interceptions, turnover on downs, punt/kick return, in which they started in plus territory. That can't happen.
No.
And that's where, and the Chiefs haven't had that very often this year. Chiefs haven't had games where they're going interception, turnover on downs, punt return that puts you at the 40-yard line. And the offense hasn't been capitalizing on some of those things anyway. But the defense has not been turning teams over. They've been really good, but what they have been lacking is turnovers and short fields for the offense, where the Ravens' defense has been so good, and they've been getting turnovers. They're number one in sacks. They're pretty low in blitz percentage, which is going to be an interesting part of this game coming up against the Ravens. They don't blitz a whole lot, and they're number one in sacks. But the offense in those games that turned out to be, oh my God, they just destroyed the 49ers. They beat the Dolphins by 30 points. Yeah. 38, plus 38, plus 18, plus 32, plus 8, plus 20, plus 44, plus 9. That's where the drive started, plus being the, good side of the field, the positive side of the field. That's how a blowout happens. That's how the Ravens, they're not blowing teams out when they're starting from their own 25-yard line. When they are, they're scoring because they're getting big plays. They've had a couple of drives in those games where they had to drive the length of the field, and they didn't have like a 20-yard play. They just simply methodically did it. That's the game plan. Like, you have to make the Ravens do that in this game. And obviously you can't turn the ball over in this game. If they're picking up big plays and you're turning it over, then it's a blowout.
Right.
Then it is. Then I do see how the Ravens can win by double digits in 14 or 20, whatever.
And the Chiefs being the specific matchup for this is kind of perfect. Like, if that is what ends the season, it will feel like justice. Yeah. It will be justified. Where
they'll come across it honestly.
Yes,
from 100%. How they played this year.
100%. And that's the thing about the Bills game, which we can look back to. They had some issues. They got in their own way a little bit, but not so much that it cost them. McCole Hardman was almost the one that cost him. You know what I mean? It should have been the one that put the game away, but it didn't end up. It ended up costing. It is a turnover that gives them the ball where they'd be returning on a regular sized a drive for your offense, as opposed to let's say, just for example, turning it over deep in your own territory twice in a way that allows your opposing defense to just score on back-to-back plays, something that would never happen.
No.
It will be fitting if mistakes that the Ravens capitalize on are the thing that ends the Chiefs' season. And it's fitting that the message this week is, hey, guys, don't make these mistakes again. Because, again, I'm obviously alluding to the Raiders. The Raiders weren't supposed to be a team that capitalized on all of those mistakes. And they capitalized on plenty of them on Christmas. The Ravens will absolutely take what you give them, and they will make you pay for that if they're starting 3 drives at your 30. I think it's a really good pattern to catch from those blowouts, and it's also encouraging when I'm in this place, I imagine you both are, when you believe, hey, the Chiefs defense can hold its own in this game if they are getting 75 yards of space behind them to hold you to 3, or ideally 0. But also it scares me because this Chiefs offense has been a unit that has been giving away points like this season.
So the 48 points that they scored when they were at plus territory against the 49ers and the Dolphins came on 8 drives for a total of 212 yards.
Wow.
8 drives. That is 26.5 yards per drive. And they scored 48 points in those games.
And that's 6 points per drive, which is very close to 7.
It's as close to 7 as you're going to get if you don't have decimals.
It's like one field. What was it? 2 field goals you said they settled for?
There were 2 field goals in there.
They are turning that into touchdowns.
Yeah. And again, that's 27-yard drives. But that's how good their defense has been, is because they've turned those teams over. That's Tua and it's Brock.
I love the quarterbacks that they get picked there, too.
It's Tua and it's Brock. And that was Brock Purdy. That was a 5-interception game for Brock Purdy. It was a 2-interception game for Tua. And then they had a couple of turnovers on downs as well. And also they had, in each game, a big return. They had a kick return of 70-something yards that put them at the 18-yard line. And they had a punt return plus a late hit that got them at the 47-yard line of the opposing team. Special teams and defense. Outside of the special teams and defense, you're talking about 7, 14, 28, 35. 30. So you're talking about 44 points scored outside of special teams and defense, 22 points per game. In those games, 22 points were scored when they had to drive the length of the field. Now, it doesn't mean had they got a punt and started to throw in 30, they wouldn't have got points out of that.
Sure.
When they started the other teams, 20, other teams 44, the other teams 9, the other teams, 25-yard line, the other teams 32. Things like that, they could certainly score touchdowns if they had to, if they got the ball, deep in their own territory.
But they're too good to make it easy on them.
That's
there's no room to do 40 yards of the work for the Ravens
because they are making teams pay.
Yes, and in a lot of ways, again, it is a fitting AFC Championship game matchup for the Demons the Chiefs have faced this year of their own creation, and escaping a couple of times against the Dolphins and Bills, obviously closer to Buffalo. This will be a fitting chapter. Hopefully not the final. Hopefully it's the second to last chapter of this 2023-24 Chiefs season. But if it ends because they turn the ball over in their own territory and the Ravens make them pay, it would honestly be kind of a book ending if you go back to the Lions game and how this season started.
We'll take a timeout. Oh, I see. When Dave Merritt says it, it's funny. Text says 913-912-4810 says Lamar's pumped. He's ready to throw for 160 yards. It made me laugh. I like Lamar, but it made me laugh. Another text says, don't forget the special teams gave up a return touchdown last week for the Ravens. They did. It also points out that the defense only gave up 3 points
Yeah.
to the Texans. But
No.
they did give up a return touchdown last week. So, it's return season, as Dave Tobe says.
That makes me excited to be here.
We'll hear from him coming up an hour from now. I also think it was interesting, something we can get into that Anthony Sherman brought up this morning about, how crazy Baltimore could be. And if the secondary market is pricing out the crazy fans, the get-in price at the corner upper level last row is $800 a ticket.
Do they not host it every year?
Not every year.
WHB.com.
All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, this Thursday edition of The Zone, heading up until 2 o'clock. We'll hear from the Chiefs right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Andy Reid, Dave Tobe, Steve Spagnuolo, Matt Nagy, Patrick Mahomes, Rashee Rice, Nick Bolton, and sound from the locker room all coming up today on this Thursday. Let's bring in Kent Swanson, KC Sports Network, joining us here in the zone. Kent, what's up, man? How are you, sir?
I'm doing absolutely wonderful. It feels like January 49th. This has been the longest month ever, but I don't know if I feel like I've talked to you guys 3 times this month, honestly. So I'm excited to be here, though.
Well, it's a leap year, so January 49th, I believe, is the leap year day. Okay. Nailed it. Hey, do you want to go to the Ravens game? Because if you want to go to the Ravens game and sit like, let's say 40-yard line, lower tank, and sit roughly halfway up. You don't have to have front row tickets, but like halfway up, maybe even back half of the lower tank around the 40-yard line. You got $2,700 per ticket.
Ooh, boy, there's a lot of people in the East Coast paying a lot of money to watch Patrick Mahomes beat their favorite team. I can't wait for that. I'll be in Dallas, actually. I'll be at the East-West Shrine Bowl this weekend. This is our big weekend, so I actually leave tomorrow morning for the East-West Shrine Bowl. So.
Absolutely. That's awesome, man. I was talking about they were talking about this morning, Sherman talking about the price of admission for the game and the get-in price at Tickets for Less right now. The corner, last row, upper deck corner seat is $800 per ticket. So, I mean, honestly, I do wonder what that does for like the average Joe fan if you're getting more corporate tickets or we're going to buy these tickets for a client or something like that, or there in Baltimore. Maybe not as loud, maybe louder. Who knows what will go on. I want to talk about the Shrine Bowl coming up here in just a little bit, but how this team is playing, what they did in Buffalo, and looking ahead to Baltimore. What do you like about what you've seen in this team? Let's even go back to the Bengals game, but the last 3 times they've gone out there, they've scored 25, 26, and 27 points in the last 3 outings for this Chiefs offense. What are you seeing? What do you like?
Finally starting to find an identity, I think, is one of those things. And, I think the simplification of paring down the rotations and kind of, identifying the players that they want on the field has been a big help. I think, there's been a slow progression, right? So, the Bengals game, we found the right personnel. We did some good things. We ended the possession on the right side of the 50-yard line. Yeah, we had to kick a lot of field goals, but that's okay. And we're starting to figure some things out. And then the Dolphins game, it was, continuing to build on that. They got their stars involved. They got all of the best players on their team. Finished a little bit more in the red zone. We could talk about the icy end zone, and maybe that hurt some things a little bit. And then I think you saw this team do some really, really good things, limited the mistakes that they've been making even in those first 2 games a lot against the Bills. Yes, there was still a crucial fumble at the goal line that could have, blown that game open. But at the same time, this team didn't make a ton of mistakes. They protected the football outside of that play. It's trending in the right direction, and I think now the step is, hey, let's just avoid that McColl fumble in the end zone, and I mean now we're cooking.
Yeah, you wrote about a couple of weeks ago. I think it was just last week. It was after the Dolphins game, and you wrote about the vertical passing game and sort of unlocking that. And I think you labeled it sort of a keep firing, right? I mean, just keep doing those things. And they did that. And Craig, we had him on last week, and he said, here's what he picked the Chiefs to win. He said, I think they're going to hit a couple of deep shots. They got to hit a couple of deep shots. I think they're going to take their chances. They're going to hit some of those. And I didn't expect it to be MVS, but it was. I mean, MVS down the sideline for 32, MVS over the middle for 30. They went over the top a couple of times. And the Miami Dolphins, they went over the top and didn't make them pay because they didn't convert on those because of, whether it was the wind or it was the player he was throwing the ball to. Regardless, they didn't do that. But MVS made a good catch down the sideline that first play of the second half, and then made the catch over the middle when Mahomes put it on him, stepping up from the blitz. That's been a big part of it, and I wonder, do you think, Kent, that because the Chiefs have hit on a couple of those, does that make the Ravens go, okay, we need to respect that? Or the Ravens say, yeah, I'm going to make you prove it 2 weeks in a row that you can do that?
I think they'll have to respect it. I do think that they're going to have to honor it a little bit. And, I don't know if they're going to be terrified of the vertical passing game the same way they were, because even some of their big, explosive plays weren't necessarily over the defense outside of that one big one of Marquez. But they still gave up a lot of explosive plays that, the Bills gave up a lot of explosive plays still, right? So I think it's something they're going to have to honor. They're going to have to take into consideration. I think you still run McCole Hardman through the middle of that defense and stretch him vertically so you can work underneath. And I still think you got to try to hit some stuff down the field with Marquez Valdez-Scantling. So, I think this offense has started to show enough that they're going to have to honor some of this stuff down the field, and it could not be coming at a better time because they definitely needed that little element in there.
And they've been running the ball really well. They did it against the Dolphins, maybe not as well as people would hope, but they were able to ice that game, no pun intended, actually. And then they were able to run the ball against the Buffalo Bills. We'll see what they can do against the Baltimore Ravens. But what's been the difference in your mind as to why this team has been running the football? Is it you mentioned sort of an identity? Is that what it is? The identity, the offensive line, Donovan Smith being back? I don't know. The interior of the offensive line just simply playing better. Different scheme for this Chiefs team in running the football, or how much maybe they went up against a couple of banged up defenses, which has to at least be accounted for and acknowledged.
I think it's a little bit of everything. I think, and I'll just fun fact: Isaiah Pacheco and Clyde Edwards-Helaire averaged 7.5 yards per carry against the Bills this last week. So the numbers actually went down because of Patrick Mahomes and McCole Hardman. So this group was running at an extremely high clip. I think it's a lot of things. Yeah, I think Donovan Smith actually played pretty well in the playoffs. That rest might have been really good for him from a health perspective. I think they always their gap stuff tends to look a little bit better during the playoffs, and when they're playing a little bit more downhill with a little bit more physicality. Yeah, it probably has a little bit to do with what defenses are willing to give up, especially considering that the last two defenses they've played have been a little bit more beat up. And Isaiah Pacheco in the playoffs, he runs like his feet are extra on fire during the playoffs too. So, I think it's just a combination of everything.
Visiting with Kent Swanson, you mentioned getting a little rest for Donovan Smith, and he's not, the run blocker that even Wanya Morris is expected to be, but certainly he's a better player right now than Wanya Morris. The rest aspect, I didn't think that sitting out against the Chargers for Travis Kelce would have a lasting impact of a couple of weeks, but since he sat out against the Chargers, these two games, 12 receptions, 146 yards, and 2 touchdowns for Travis Kelce. Hadn't had a touchdown since, November 20th against the Eagles. And, had a couple of games where he had struggled to get past 50 yards, and he breaks 70 yards back-to-back games. He talked a little bit about it, that it helped him feel better going into the Miami game, but then also, kind of feel better going into the Buffalo game. It looks like a fresher Travis Kelce, and who'd have thought that sitting out that one game would do the benefits, bring the benefits to Travis Kelce that it has. And obviously Mahomes and Kelce matching up and hooking up is a big part of this offense playing better too, as opposed to 3 receptions, 16 yards, 4 receptions, 30 yards, 5 receptions, 44 yards. Those aren't your typical Kelce games. And I did think he looked tired and he looked worn down throughout the season. The knee injury, the ankle injury, just being older, maybe the off-the-field stuff and the between the ears. Now he's getting a little more used to it. What do you see from Kelce these last couple of weeks? And is it, that taking 1 week off, being a little fresher as to why we're seeing vintage Kelce? Or is it the playoffs are going and it's just going to be vintage Kelce because that's what he does in the playoffs?
I think there's an emotional aspect to it too. Honestly, I think getting some time to just kind of reset after what's been a very emotionally difficult season for this team. Like, you've seen not only the physical struggles of Travis Kelce, but I think you've seen the emotions of this season wear on him. This has not been a usual Chiefs season that he's used to with his buddy Patrick Mahomes, and I think there's that aspect too. But I think that he definitely looks fresher. I think his legs look a little bit fresher. I think. I think we probably don't we don't really understand on the outside of the building, the playoff effect and the playoff experience and how much that matters to this team, because they're so accustomed to this. They're so used to this time of year. They know what it takes and they know what is required of them physically, mentally to handle that. So, I think there's a little bit of that. I think Andy putting out his best foot, putting his best foot forward with the play calling. I think you've seen that a little bit. And schematically, the way that teams have played them, they've given the Chiefs, I think, more opportunities to find, Kelsey recently, just because I do think there's a little bit of teams having to play some softer coverages, be it the vertical stretch, be it the health of their teams. I think all of that kind of plays into it. So hopefully, this is the biggest test that the Chiefs are obviously going to have coming up against Baltimore. And there's going to be some, it's going to be a little bit tougher, I think, to get Travis Kelce going the way it has in the last 2 weeks.
Is there an advantage for this team that they played Josh Allen last week and now Lamar Jackson this week, that, they go from, pushing somebody off his spot in Tua that's not going to beat you with his legs to Josh Allen that will certainly beat you with his legs, and then Lamar Jackson that can, just break a game open with longer runs with his legs? Is there an advantage that it's sort of a ramp up to a degree of facing guys that, especially last week, a running quarterback like Josh Allen?
Yeah, I definitely think that there's some things that you can take away from what Josh does versus what Lamar does. And candidly, Josh is a better passer than Lamar. I mean, he is. He's a better thrower of the football. And you saw some of those incredible plays that Josh Allen and maybe only Josh Allen on the planet can make. I mean, that throw to the pylon was unbelievable. Yeah. And Mahomes might be able to do it, but not to the same way that Josh Allen can. The thing that was interesting I thought about that game is, the Bills stretched the Chiefs horizontally the entire game. They used the run game. They used the horizontal passing game, just because I don't think they trusted their receivers to get down the field vertically. And, I think that was ultimately one of them. But they tested the Chiefs horizontally as much as any team has ever. Like, in the Andy Reid era, I can't remember it being that horizontal of an offense. And I think that's a good thing, because the Chiefs linebackers are going to get tested significantly horizontally this week again, I believe. And you've got, the effect of Lamar and having to contain rush him and the stress it's going to put on the linebackers to handle Lamar, but also just having to defend the width of the field, right? So I think it's, getting to see how a team really can just kind of pepper the horizontal offense to try to stress your linebackers. Last week, I mean, the Bills were trying everything they could to do that. That could be a good thing for how this team has to handle that. And I think if you get it into more of a vertical passing game, I think that's a really big advantage for the Chiefs.
Is there a concern as to the Chiefs' run defense to you, how they played against the Bills, and then obviously the number one rushing offense in the NFL with the Baltimore Ravens?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, like it's going to be a point of emphasis this week. I mean, I think the Chiefs, and honestly, I think it should be, because the Chiefs, not the Chiefs. If you watch the Texans game, there were some scripts, some more pass-heavy scripts and opportunities and moments in the game where it looked like the Ravens had to play more true drop back, and it did not look as good as it did the rest of the game. So the Texans actually slowed down Lamar and made things interesting in the second quarter in that passing offense, because the game script was a little bit more of a passing script, and it did not. I mean, the Texans really did a good job shutting it down. So I think, run fits are going to be a point of emphasis. I think, obviously, they obviously are going to be in the first place. But I think if you can try to make that game more one-dimensional, that's going to be really big for the Chiefs. And I think the Chiefs played better against the run in the second half.
I do too.
Than they did in the first half. They figured some things out. So run fits are going to be crucial, and if they can get into a game script that's going to kind of play into their hands, getting an early lead, or kind of forcing the Ravens to play a little bit outside of what their identity has been this season, I think good things will happen.
Yeah, the Ravens they're just a better team than the Texans. There's no getting around that. But how the Texans played in the first half and what the Ravens tried to do to go against that versus the adjustment they made in the second half, the Texans' game plan was brilliant in the first half. I mean, they were blitzing, but they were blitzing in a way that they weren't giving up lanes. They were blitzing with their gap responsibility, gap integrity, and that obviously has to be a key point for the Chiefs because they were bottling Lamar Jackson up while they were blitzing, and he didn't handle the blitz very well. Whether they had play calls for that or not, he didn't handle the blitz very well. They were stopping runs early on. They had Lamar Jackson in his legs contained. They made open field tackles on Lamar Jackson and the Ravens players, which is going to be crucial in this game. But coming out in the second half, the adjustment the Ravens made that the Texans never adjusted back to is the Ravens dropped back and just started hitting 5-yard passes. Just boom, drop back, 5-yard pass. Drop back, here's a little underneath to Zay Flowers. Okay, boom, here's a little underneath to Rashad Bateman. They weren't getting beat by the blitz anymore. They weren't letting Lamar Jackson sit in the pocket. They weren't saying Lamar go and run around. They were saying they're going to blitz. We're going to put our guys on an island with their guys and just throw a little underneath. Then we're going to run the ball, and then something big's going to break. The Texans didn't adjust to that. Then they were still bringing blitzes. And the Ravens just sort of, surgically went down the field. And it makes it a lot easier when you're ahead of the chains constantly. You're able to run the ball, and you're hitting a little underneath stuff to beat the blitz. I'm not sure what Spags will do. And I'm not saying the Texans don't have good defensive coaches because they got damn fine defensive coaches. But Spags has always been really good at adjusting at the half. And Shamari Connor talked about, maybe it was Justin Reed talked about it yesterday, Kent, that, they adjusted and they made some things that they hadn't practiced all year that they went out and did in the second half against the Bills that they were just drawing it up in the dirt or something like that. Like they were throwing out some schemes that they hadn't practiced and done all year, some unscouted looks for the Bills. I trust that for the Chiefs. But I just thought that was really interesting, rewatching the Ravens and Texans game of what they did in the first half, how good they were, how they kept that offense in check. And then the second half, the Ravens just went, well, bleep that. We're not going to do 5, 7-step drops with Lamar. It's going to be 3-step drop, bring the blitz, boom, hit Zay Flowers, let him make some moves and go and run. And we'll, give it to Justice Hill, give it to Gus Edwards, and just take some longer drives down the field if that's what it takes.
Yeah, the Ravens were definitely not prepared for the amount of pressure that the Texans showed, and they definitely got a little bit better. And I do think, I don't think the Texans did a great job of giving, the Texans gave him a lot of outs in the second half. I do agree with that, with some of the short to intermediate stuff. And so I don't think the Chiefs are going to blitz at the same clip that the Texans did. I think Spags is still going to blitz. But it's going to be on his terms. It's going to be, a little bit more random, sporadic. I think it's going to be a game where they try to mix everything up against Lamar. I think they're just going to try to vary coverages, vary pressure. I think there's this funny anecdote about Steve Spagnuolo, where basicgoing it doesn't always have to make sense when he does what he does. Sometimes he's just going to, he's going to throw zero pressure when it's probably not the right time to throw, the most logical time to throw zero pressure. Yeah. He just likes to really mix things up. He really likes to be unpredictable. And I think that's what you're going to get. I think if you can get Lamar to hold the ball just a little bit more, you're disciplined in your rush lane. If you can take away some of that intermediate and short stuff, especially considering Mark Andrews will be back, him and Isaiah Likely, I'm more worried about than the Ravens receivers. I think the Ravens receivers are fine, but I don't find them to be an overly dynamic group. I think doing a good job in the middle of the field, confusing and mixing things up with Lamar, getting to hold the ball just a tick longer, it's going to be a pretty valuable piece to the Chiefs finding a way to win this game.
Willie Gay and Mike Edwards are both injured. Mike Edwards did not practice concussion. Willie Gay limited with the neck. How important do you think it'll be to get one or both of those guys? If you only had one to choose from, which one would you want out there? Because neither of those guys played after the first drive against the Buffalo Bills on Sunday.
Well, that's a great question. So, Mike Edwards for the secondary depth is very important, I think, just because you don't want to, I think the best version of this team has depth in that secondary, and that's definitely getting tested. Not saying Shamari Connor didn't play great, but I mean, you'd rather have a little bit more depth to that secondary group. Willie Gay's athleticism, though, at the linebacker position, if you are going to try to spy Lamar from time to time, if you're going to try to play man and spy, if you're going to, whatever you're trying to do, Willie Gay's the guy that is best equipped to kind of handle that role. It's tricky. I think it's probably still Mike Edwards, just because I'd rather have a little bit more depth there and not have to play like a Deion Bush. If something goes wrong and gives you a little bit more versatility in the back end. Both of them are really valuable, though, and I think you could make a really strong case for either of them.
Yeah, the fact that Willie Gay's the game plan was going to be that Willie Gay was going to mirror, spy Josh Allen, and when he went out, well, now you got to change some things, and then it was Leo Chenal that was in there, which is not Willie Gay. So I mean, yes, having Deion Bush out there as opposed to even Shamari Connor and Mike Edwards, that's a big difference. Shamari Connor played well, so I don't mind seeing him on the field. It's just, if you've got him on the field and then Leo Chenal and Deion Bush at the same time, yeah, then you're starting to get into the depth, which the Chiefs have some good depth, but Willie Gay would be pretty crucial to be out there because of his athleticism and spying on Lamar Jackson, and just open field tackling. I think that's going to be one of the biggest keys of this game, is the Chiefs have to tackle and at least be in a position to where you got to make Lamar Jackson cut, like a hard cut, because I've talked about it before. He loses his footing a lot. Lamar tries to cut and slips and falls a lot. And so if it's raining, I think you'll see that even more. But if you're not there and if you don't have the angle and he can just sort of glide and weave, well, then he's going to pick up big chunks of yards. If he's got to stop and cut back and do some of those things, he's really good at it. But there are plenty of times where he cuts pretty violently and he'll lose his footing and slip and fall. But you got to be there to make him do that. So you have to have the athleticism to even be in the position to be there. And I just... Man, if Willie Gay can play, that would make a big difference for me in this game if he could be out there. I'd love for both of them to be out there, but I just think against Lamar Jackson, his running ability, if Willie Gay can be there and how quick he is sideline to sideline, because Christian Thompson was brilliant for the Texans in the first half against the Ravens, and if the Chiefs can have somebody play like that, it can make a big difference.
Was there a quote that they were planning on spying Willie Gay the whole game with Josh that I missed? Was that a quote?
Spags had mentioned it, and I think I read it. Nate Taylor maybe had talked about it. That part of the plan was going to be Spags to spy, or Willie Gay to spy, and then switching that up, and then Leo Chenal in there as well. Might have been on a podcast or something with Josh and Nate, or no, probably not. No, I read it somewhere.
Probably
it might
not
have been
with Josh.
Maybe it was Teicher or something like that, or maybe it might have been Jesse Newell or Sam McDowell, somebody that was there at the actual game and talking, because it wasn't from a press conference yesterday. But yes, something along those lines, that it was going to be Willie Gay was going to be the spy for most of the game.
Well, and that doesn't surprise me. But what I'll add too is, if they had a package plan for spying Josh Allen that they didn't get to use, that means that they've saved some bullets for this game too that they haven't put out on tape. And so that's something to kind of think about too, is if Willie Gay does play. Now I'm kind of switching. I might go Willie Gay here. Because if they do have, some plays and some packages ready that they haven't put on tape of Willie Gay spying their quarterback, that's something to take into consideration too. Yeah. They've probably got more bullets in the chamber for this defensive game plan than they otherwise would, because they haven't shown some of the stuff that they were planning on doing with Willie Gay anyway. So
it's a good point. I hadn't thought about it from that perspective. Yeah. I hadn't thought about it from that perspective. Yeah, if the plan was that and then they couldn't do that, well, were there some things and some schemes and some blitzes or some other plays that they might have shown against Josh Allen and the Bills that now they can save for Lamar? Could save some good plays for Lamar and the Ravens. All right, Kent Swanson, KC Sports Network, KC Laboratory Podcast. Prediction time. What do you think happens on Sunday, and if you have a score in mind?
I am never betting against Patrick Mahomes in any situation. I'm done doing it. I've rolled with him the entirety of the playoffs. I continue to believe that he has, he just has a leg up on everybody in these situations. And I saw something in the reminder that he's only lost 3 games, 2 of them to Tom Brady, 1 without an offensive line, and 1 against the Bengals where they had a 21-3 lead and blew it. I trust him to make big plays and not make big mistakes in these kind of games. And I think Steve Spagnuolo will get Lamar Jackson to make a couple big mistakes in this game. And that's ultimately going to be what decides this football game. I know the Ravens are a very good football team, but they haven't seen Patrick Mahomes. He doesn't put his pants on the same way other quarterbacks do, like Roquan Smith. He's different. So I trust him. I trust, this coaching staff in these situations. And, I have 27-21 Chiefs are winning this football game and going to another Super Bowl.
27-21. See, I said he puts his pants on the same as other quarterbacks, but when his pants are on, he's Patrick Mahomes. it's like, yeah. No, he puts them on the same way. It's just when his are on, he's the best quarterback in the NFL and one of the greatest that has ever lived and maybe the most talented that's ever lived once his pants are on. That's the difference. It's like, before the play happens, when the quarterbacks are running onto the field, Patrick Mahomes and other quarterbacks are sort of the same while they're running on the field. But when the play happens, that's when he's different. Putting your clothes on, putting the pads, I bet he puts his pads on the same as a lot of other quarterbacks. It's just he's number 15 for the Chiefs when his are on as opposed to other guys. And C.J. Stroud had an awesome year, but I'll trust Patrick Mahomes, in the AFC Championship game than C.J. Stroud in his second ever playoff game. So we'll see. Kent Swanson, KCSN.substack.com, the KC Laboratory Podcast. Kent, I hope our next conversation is a couple of days after a parade. That would be awesome if that was the case. But I appreciate this conversation with you, and we will talk soon, sir.
Yeah, and I look forward to listening to the 8:10 pregame show as well. Just very, very excited to hear that before that game starts. So.
Yeah. What about the what about the post game as well? I know that you see, Josh.
Kate, thanks for being here, bud.
See, there's a reason.
It.
But see, Josh, there's a reason he
exactly
can't listen to the post game. You see, Josh.
What? Can't do you do something after the game? I'm doing this show. So
not sure what you're doing, Kent.
Yeah. Do you like?
You know what? Let's talk.
Do you have a blog or something?
Let's have you on at the parade. Kent, let's do that.
Come to the parade with us.
That wouldn't be a bad idea.
Let's
see
do
what
it.
happens if I can get some time off and all that good stuff.
Ask your bosses.
You have no idea how many times I've texted Josh to try to get on the post-game show as I'm driving home from other responsibilities that I might have. And
do you have my right phone number? Because I don't think you've done that this year yet. Or you're texting Bosch Brisco.
Brisco with
Is there an E? Yeah, if there's an E, I don't answer.
There's been a couple of there's also been a couple of times where the show is ending.
Yeah, it does do that. It tends to do that eventually.
Yeah.
I just try to invite myself onto Josh's show. That's what it is. So.
That's great. I love it.
Well, we'll see you at the parade in Baltimore, Kent. Thanks for being here. Talk to you in 3 weeks.
Whoa, Josh.
No, he picked the Chiefs, so
he picked the Chiefs.
Concerns me.
Kent, thank you, sir. Appreciate it, man.
Yep. Catch you later.
All right, buddy. There's
the third most important member of the lab, Kent Swanson.
That was great. I love that.
Still there.
We'll have the Chiefs game for you right here on Sports Radio 810 WHP coming up this weekend. Pre-game for you, heading into the game, and then a little post-game action with Josh Brisco. He's got 27-21 Chiefs beating the Ravens this weekend. Hell yeah, let's do it. You
can hear Patrick Mahomes hoist the Lamar Hunt trophy all over again here on 810 if it ends that way.
Travis Kelce say, not nan one of y'all thought we could do it. And he'd be talking to a Ravens crowd, so he's probably correct.
More or less right. Like, all these haters in here. Man, they were for the other team.
Everybody here that was booing us all year long. This whole game. Nobody here thought we would come in here and I don't know.
You got to fight. Guys, hello. Are you guys going to do this with me? Or I'm sorry, I've literally never played in an AFC Championship game on the road. This is very new to me.
Do we wait to celebrate back home? What do we do?
That's actually the best post-game moment we could possibly get would be Travis Kelce playing up the fact that it's weird to win one on the road. Yeah. I bet the playoff crowd there in Baltimore would love it.
Yeah, especially paying $900 just to walk in the building per ticket. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next.
Make sure you've got your playoff plan in action with Greenlight Dispensary. Check them out online at Greenlight Dispensary.
continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. You know, missed opportunities for the Bills. That's what cost. Missed opportunities for the Chiefs is what cost them an opportunity to really blow this game out. I asked Kent Swanson that question, and I'll ask you as well. Mike Edwards or Willie Gay? You can only have one.
Yeah, I think I'm taking Willie Gay.
Yeah.
It's in part that Deion Bush.
Yeah.
He's fine. He's a downgrade, but he's been fine. Shamari Connor has taken huge steps. Difference between week 1 and the AFC Championship game. I feel a lot better about Connor, obviously. I think Willie Gay has more of an impact in more parts of the game that the Ravens can take advantage of.
And I'm going to add one more thing to it as to why I take Willie Gay. Mark Andrews is playing.
Yeah, good point.
So they're going 2 tight end sets. They're going to want the Chiefs to be in base personnel with 3 linebackers out there. And if Willie Gay's not there, now you're talking about Leo Chenal, Drew Tranquill, and Nick Bolton, as opposed to Nick Bolton, Willie Gay, and Drew Tranquill.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty significant difference. And Willie Gay able to maybe scrape over the top if the guys are crashing down on the zone read. Somebody's got to be out there to take Lamar Jackson on the outside, which burned the Texans a couple of times. There were a couple of times where Lamar kept it, went around the edge, and the end turned around and was like, "Hey, you're supposed to scrape down. You've got him. That's how we're running this. That's the way you're scheming it up. I'm crashing down. You're scraping over the top." The fact that I think they'll be in a lot of 12 personnel.
That's a great point.
Willie Gay being out there would be massive, and he's at least practicing.
And a lot of times you get a team into their base, and it's a downgrade for them. If you have those 3 linebackers of Gay, Bolton, and Tranquill, it's not a real downgrade.
And that's why I wonder if the Chiefs will run much 12 or 13 personnel, because getting the Ravens into base personnel is not a downgrade for them.
Right.
The Bills dressed 4 linebackers in the game and then lost 1 in the game. Mm-hmm. The Ravens have all-pro linebackers, like legit all-pro linebackers. Yep. They have Roquan Smith and Patrick Queen are both all-pro. Not Pro Bowl, all-pro. Kyle Hamilton at safety and Justin Matabuke at defensive tackle. Like, they've got 4 defensive all-pro players at each level. Defensive tackle, linebacker. So getting them in their base, not exactly what you want to do to go up against the Ravens, because Queen and Roquan Smith are so freaking good. And I kind of like the aspect of seeing these teams in the postseason play against each other that have actually invested in the linebacker spot.
It's kind of wild.
Where teams are going linebacker, anybody can play linebacker, and the Chiefs and the Ravens are like, nah, we're going to put some linebackers out there that are pretty damn good. And, drafting Patrick Queen in the first round, trading for Roquan Smith, and the Chiefs spending 2 second-rounders and a third-rounder on 3 of their 4 linebackers. They've invested as well. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. More Zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jason Anderson, Josh Brisco, Dylan Michaels. We'll play some Sports or Leisure coming up later on in the show. $25 to Johnny's Tavern will be given away. Johnny's Tavern on Monday will have the percentage off whatever the Chiefs score on Sunday. That is dine-in only, 18-inch New York-style specialty pizza, dine-in only on Mondays after the Chiefs play. That'll be coming up this Monday, and hopefully you got a lot of percentage off. Got a ton of percentage, 50% off. How about that? That would be amazing.
I'll double check, but I bet if the Chiefs score 100 points, they'll be happy to give out some free pizzas.
What would they do?
You know what? If the Chiefs score 100 points, I will help subsidize some of those free pizzas.
No, you won't.
I will.
No, you won't.
I don't need to.
It's a legally binding verbal agreement that Josh just made right there.
Oh, man, you know what? There's at least a chance this game goes into like 15 overtimes, like because it's the playoffs. I mean, so there's a path.
Point. It's a good
Not
point.
total 100 points. If the Chiefs score 100 points.
Multiple overtimes in this game coming up on Sunday.
If they score 100 points and lose, I'll help subsidize the pizzas.
I will cry in the pizza.
Legally binding.
If that were to happen. Boy, would that be the first time a team in the NFL scored 100 points and lost?
I have to,
in a championship game?
I have to imagine that.
And the answer is like,
that probably hasn't happened before.
Yeah, considering the Dolphins almost broke the scoring record at like 70-something points, it would be the first time a team scored 100. But what about losing? I'm talking about scoring 100 and losing.
I can't believe the Dolphins didn't go. Just go for it.
Come on, you gotta find a way to break the record there. At least you would have something this year besides losing the wild card round again, and then your defensive coordinator leaving to go coach in Philadelphia for a coach that might be fired next year. I mean, he left a situation where the coach is solid.
Yes.
In his tenure, to a place where the coach is on the hot seat and could be fired midseason if it doesn't get turned around quickly.
He might not make it to week 8. Oh, maybe that's chestnut checkers. Vic Fangio, interim head coach.
That's a great call. Vic Fangio, he wants to be head coach.
There it is.
He's like, you know what? I'm so sick and tired of Mike McDaniel's antics and stuff like that and how he acts at press conferences. I really want to be around Nick Sirianni. Tired of all the Mike McDaniel stuff. His dry humor can't get down with it anymore.
I can't believe they didn't get a buddy cop show out of Mike McDaniel and Vic Fangio. That would have been really good. Season 5 of True Detective.
There you go.
Let's go.
Well, I don't know. I kind of figured the body would be a little stiffer. Vic
They really
Fangio.
do have the right.
Really,
energy
Mike?
for that.
Yeah. Why don't you work the crime scene, Mike?
You just stop saying weird bleep. That's all it's always
Vic
about.
Fangio is always super, super serious. Mike McDaniel's got the dry humor trying to cut through the tension with his wit.
Now I'm kind of annoyed that the Dolphins didn't just go on a Super Bowl run here because the movie about the 2023 Dolphins could have just been starring McConaughey and Woody Harrelson. Like that would have, he could have bulked up a little bit. And McConaughey's ready for the Mike McDaniel role tomorrow.
Yeah, Mike McDaniel at the time is a flat circle.
Yeah, that's him right there. That's easy.
Right. So Vic Fangio heading to Philadelphia. And I meant to ask Kent Swanson how many games the Chargers will win the West by next year. That was the other prediction.
I'll text him.
Who would win this weekend, and how many games do the Chargers win the West by?
He said 17. Seems like that'll be really hard to do.
Very hard. I kind of feel like, shouldn't they be the favorites in the AFC West next year?
I think so. I mean, listen, as you saw when Tom Telesco got the Raiders job, he built a top 10 offense over a decade, a top 10 roster over a decade in LA.
Yeah.
That roster's still there. I imagine that roster's still good.
Right.
When's the last time a successful coach made a huge job change and it didn't work out swimmingly? I can't think of a time.
In all seriousness, though, the coaches in the AFC West,
Killer.
if Antonio Pierce is as good as what he was down the stretch.
Yep. If
Then
he's
you've
the
got-
guy Max Crosby thinks he is.
That's right. You got Antonio Pierce, who is the bigger unknown there, but you got a Super Bowl champion in Sean Payton, obviously the Chiefs and Andy Reid, and now you've got a Jim Harbaugh that can coach. You know he can coach, and he'll get that Chargers team organized. I mean, he set school records in, single season wins at San Diego, Stanford, and Michigan. And he took the 49ers to the Super Bowl.
He turned that roster around fast, too. That's
Yeah.
one thing I didn't really appreciate until kind of going back and looking at some of that. It was Mike Singletary, bottoming out, and then that team was good immediately.
I'll tell you this. A lot of talk immediately about, how great is this for Herbert? This is great for Justin Herbert. Great for Justin Herbert. It is. But now you better win.
Yeah.
Because now there are no longer excuses for Justin Herbert about how bad the coaches are. Well, you're done in by Brandon Staley. Bad offensive coordinator. Wait till they get Kellen Moore. Well, Brandon Staley is so stupid and dumb. Look, they fired him anyway during the regular season. What can Justin Herbert do? He's overcoming the coaching on his own team. Well, you ain't getting benefit of the doubt if you're struggling and losing with Jim Harbaugh as your coach. So now it's on Justin Herbert you better go out there and win some games. I'm not saying he won't, but you better go and do it.
There'll be some room for, like, as they figure out. I really do think this year's going to be a step back for them. Maybe not a step back from the issues they had this year, because those were systemic. But in terms of their roster, the cap hits and the age and everything, I do think it'll take a second. But Harbaugh took the Mike Singletary, briefly Jim Tomsula, before the return of Jim Tomsula a few years later. That team went 6-10. They clean house, and they come back the first year of Harbaugh's 13-3 in the conference championship game. If you talk about coaches maximizing their roster as a pretty good barometer for how good of a job they're doing, that's an Andy Reid showing up to town kind of turnaround. I mean, it really, really is. And he didn't have, I don't think he had as much roster turnover as Andy did when he got to town. Fittingly, Harbaugh had Alex Smith the whole time. And then, Alex Smith was there with Singletary and coaches before, and he made Alex Smith better. He made Colin Kaepernick better. He's a real football coach that is going to make the AFC West harder.
There's news out of Carolina. They have hired the Tampa Bay Buccaneers offensive coordinator to be their head coach. If I knew his name, I would tell you. But the
Canales?
Bucks, that's what it is, cannoli.
I spelled it wrong, but it is Dave Canales. There we go.
Leave the gun, take the cannolis.
Leave the gun, take Dave Canales.
There you go. So 1 year as OC, and now has the head coaching job at Carolina. So he goes from the number 1 pick in Baker Mayfield to the number 1 pick in Young.
Is that just David Tepper just being like, all right, listen, you're in this. You took this division from us, and you made Baker Mayfield look good.
You made Baker
come do it to Bryce.
Yeah, you took Baker Mayfield to look like a good quarterback.
How
in the
tall
playoffs.
is Baker?
I think, it's funny. Taller than Bryce.
Yeah, that's also what I had.
Than Bryce?
I believe so.
Because, I know Baker, the talk about, him being number 1 overall, but it wasn't nearly the talk about, Bryce Young being number 1 overall and being 4'2".
Baker's listed at 6'1".
So he's 5'11".
Both Bryce Young and Kyler Murray are listed at 5'10".
So they're 5'5".
Bryce Young's not 5'10". Kyler might be about 5'10". Bryce Young, did he get measured at the combine?
Probably not. Here's
Who
Andy
cares?
Reid.
Here's Andy Reid.
Derek Nottie won't practice. Pacheco did the walkthrough but won't practice. And then Joe Tooney won't practice today. Everybody else will go. Had a good day yesterday. Preparation. We know every day is important for the challenge playing the Ravens. So with that, time's yours.
Andy, the Ravens defense scores out really well in lots of categories. As you look at them further throughout this week, is there anything that stands out, or is it all just really good?
Yeah, they're good all the way around. Good back end, secondary linebackers are fast and good tacklers, and then their front strong. So good all around defense.
And did you see anything in Lamar's game against Pittsburgh that suggested a different playoff persona to him than maybe he had in the past, and some sort of growth there?
Well, listen, I've always had a ton of respect for him. From the time he got in the league on, he's playing good football. He's been doing it all year, and he's just carried it into the playoffs. Yeah, last week.
And when you saw him come into the league, obviously up against, I can't remember the timing, but the first time Patrick faced him, did you at that point have some sense we're going to be seeing this go on for years and years, and those two guys going against each other?
Yeah, it felt that way. I mean, the league is lucky to have these young quarterbacks that are so good, talented. But that they've got a good team around him, and he's good, and so you figured that somewhere we were going to be playing him once or twice. So yeah.
Mike Edwards back to work today?
Yeah, Mike will be out there.
What's his?
He's just precautionary, just ease him back in and see how he's doing.
What did Willie have a setback? Willie Gay have a setback early in the game?
His neck is stiff, and he just can't turn right now. So it's getting better, but I mean that's what happened in the game.
He kind of had a setback during the game, or just couldn't go.
Yeah, it wasn't working. It got worse during the game. So it did, yeah.
How important is Willie, especially when you face a running quarterback, his athleticism there?
Yeah, no, Willie, he's a big part of our defense. However, I wouldn't slight Drew for the job he did coming in. But Willie's a good player. He's part of it. He's part of the success that we've had.
And it is a big picture, but what do you think of the job that Steve Spagnuolo has done for you?
Yeah, he's done a great job. Great job. Not that he hasn't in the past. We just had some young players. So, but the teaching part of it, whether it's David working with the secondary and Donald, I mean, they've got that crew, a young group that made some mistakes last year. They've got them playing good football, accurate football. Brendan with the linebackers doing a nice job there. Guys flying around making plays. So, and then you look at Joe and how he's fit people in there and kept a nice rotation going with the guys. He's done a nice job too. So, but Spags is the general of that group, and he designs all the stuff that we throw at offenses, and he's got a great variety of pitches. So.
And following up on that, what attributes do you think are the most important when it comes to a defensive play caller? Are there qualities that you value perhaps more than?
Yeah, sure. Well, the scheme is important. How you utilize the scheme is important. When you think of our defense, you think we blitz all the time, but it's not blitzing all the time. It's when you blitz. It's important. Give yourself an opportunity to get home or get done with the blitz that you want to get done. Spag's got a great feel for that. So he doesn't get overzealous with blitzing every down. And some guys do that. He picks and chooses the time, but to do that, you've got to know, or at least have a feel on what the offense is doing. But, and then I think a big part of it is, do your players believe in it? So you can be a great teacher, do all that, but if your players aren't believing in the scheme, you're not going to have the production you want. So he does a nice job of that.
Anything else? Go ahead, Dave.
Sort of piggybacking on that a little bit, but there's not a lot of teams that have coordinators on both sides that were head coaches. Is it a noticeable experience? Does that bring something different that maybe a coordinator that doesn't have head coaching experience would have?
Yeah, well, both of them are good leaders. They're not afraid to make the decision. So, where sometimes coordinators that haven't been head coaches are sitting there and see they're afraid to do that. But both of them do a nice job with that. Yes, they have a very good job with that actually.
All right, thank you.
All right, so there you go. Derek Nottie, Joe Tooney, and Isaiah Pacheco missing practice today. That means that Trey Smith and Mike Edwards returning to practice. Mike Edwards, I'm going to guess, is going to be returning to practice in a limited capacity. If we look back to last week, Teron Johnson suffered the concussion. That was a short week for him. He was limited all 3 days of practice and eventually cleared concussion protocol. Mike Edwards did not practice yesterday. We'll see over the next couple of days how much he'll practice, but that would be big getting him back. Willie Gay out there practicing, and so is Patrick Mahomes. He's here right now.
Over the course of the years that you would have this kind of game with them, an AFC title game, and this would be a little bit of a back and forth.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, just looking at what he did in college, and then the Ravens organization and how much success they've had my entire life, I knew that he was going to put him in the right position to win. And we were going to be playing a lot of big games, AFC Championship, playoff games, whatever that was. And so it's cool to see that we're finally here. We're finally playing in our first playoff game against each other, and it's going to be a great challenge.
You really seem to enjoy the challenges of playing on the road last What is it like going on the road that you really appreciate?
Yeah, it's different. First off, we played a lot of home games, a lot of games at Arrowhead, which we love. But getting a new challenge, new opportunity to go out there and see what we can do. That as well as when you're on the road. I mean, obviously Chiefs Kingdom travels, but everybody's against you, and you got to go out there and come together as a team and find a way to win. And it's just a whole new opportunity for you to go out there and see what you're really about.
We talked about our shield a lot. You said he feels more comfortable identifying man or zone faster now. Just from a processing standpoint, how have you seen him grow?
Yeah, I mean, he's gotten a lot better. I mean, every single week he continues to get better and better. He's learned from the early mistakes that he's made and doesn't make them again. He learns from the right guys, if that's 11 or if that's 87. He stays with them, asks the right questions, and he asks the coaches the right questions. And so he's done a great job throughout the entire season, and it seems like the bigger the game, the more plays he makes.
Matt, you got a little different perspective on this, but that's not what you thought of the job that Steve's fighting all this time.
No, I mean, he's done a great job his entire time here. I mean, he's really done a great job everywhere he's been. I mean, he always coaches the defense up, and he gets guys going in the right direction. I mean, he has a track record as one of the best defensive coordinators of all time in the Super Bowls that he's won at that defensive coordinator spot. And this year, I think, has really magnified it with how they've really carried us to get to this point and done a great job of being able to make in-game adjustments. I think that's a huge thing, and he's really good at making those adjustments, coming out and finishing the game the right way. And so I said it in training camp, and I've said it all year long. I'm glad I don't have to go up against those guys.
Travis mentioned resting Week 18 is giving him a little bit more energy. Have you noticed any extra juice now that he was able to kind of have those 2 weeks in a row?
I don't even know if it was the rest or if it's just playoffs. I mean, he's played in so many playoff games now. I think, obviously the regular season is very important and he wants to do really good, but it's just like the playoffs is a different intensity, and I think he likes that. He likes playing the big games and going up against the best, and that's what makes him so special in the playoffs, is that he's able to make his game even rise another level, which you don't see. I mean, he's already at the top, and to rise another level is that's what the special players do, and I'm just glad he's on my team. It makes my job a lot easier being able to throw him the ball in those big moments.
We'll go forward, let's go by. But
Patrick, from yesterday, it seemed pretty clear you think Lamar is the deserving MVP, and I wonder, though, if that also is a motivational point to you as you enter this game, that he's the deserving MVP, but you got something to say about it, too.
I mean, not this year. My stats and my numbers, I don't know if I was in that conversation, but he led his team. I think MVP is a lot of things. It's stats, it's leading your team, winning football games, and he did that all this year. I think for us, it's just the challenge of going up against the best is what motivates you. I mean, they got the best defense. They got the MVP on offense. They have a great special teams unit, and they were the best football team throughout the entire season. So it motivates you to, in order to win the Super Bowl, you got to beat the best teams, and this is the best team that we've played so far this year, and it'll be a great challenge for us.
Dave?
Patrick, you mentioned the stats, but also everything from what defenses threw at you, that 8-game stretch where you lost 5 times. Has this been a more challenging season for you, or the most challenging season you've had as a starter here?
I would say it's just challenging in the fact that I had to deal with a lot of adversity, not having the success that I've had in the past. Knock on wood, I haven't had to deal with any of like the injuries or anything I've dealt with before in a season. So I call those seasons challenging, but at the same time, being able to not win all the games and going out there and have big stats and all that different type of stuff has been different. But it's taught me how to win in different ways and become the best quarterback for our team, not necessarily the best quarterback for stats and stuff like that, but the best quarterback I can be for us to go out there and get wins.
Last two, Steve and then Todd. Go, Steve.
Patrick, trust is a huge thing in this game, right? Like, I'm wondering how much you got to learn how to do that. I remember asking Coach Reed last year about Scott and, having to keep going with him and trusting him, I think, all the way to the end of the season. MVS is another guy this year who said, some ups and downs. How much have you had to learn how to, trust in guys, and how much have you leaned on Coach Reed to learn how to do that?
I think it's kind of just who I am. If I see you put in the work and I see you coming to practice every day and working your tail off, doing the extra stuff, then I'm going to trust you to go out there and have success. And I've seen the guys do that. And that's why I've had the trust in Sky last year. I have the trust in MVS and all these guys. It's because I see how they work every single day. I mean, everybody sees the game day, and they might not see the success that they want to happen. But when you see the work and the work ethic these guys have every single day, you know that they're giving everything they have, and that's all you can ask for. And then we let the results handle themselves. We go out there and just play to our best of our ability and try to win the game.
Last one, Todd.
Patrick, when you played these guys 4 years in a row early on in your career, they have a different defensive coordinator now. So has much changed about the way they play? It's a great success offensively.
There's definitely been some schematic changes, but at the end of the day, it's the Ravens. I mean, they're going to play physical, they're going to play fast, they're going to play hard, and they have a lot of pride in defense. I mean, obviously, they have the offense, and they've put up a lot of numbers over these last few years. But if you think about the Ravens as defense, and they're going to fly around and try to dictate tempo, that's just who they are. And so it's our job is to go out there and play our game, play fast, play physical as well, and match their tempo. And so it's going to be a great challenge. I'm excited for it. I mean, I know it's going to be tough, it's going to be hard, but at the same time, this is what you want at this point in the playoffs.
Thanks, Patrick.
All right, there's Patrick Mahomes getting ready for that challenge of heading to Baltimore, facing off against Lamar Jackson, which he says a deserving MVP, his stats and everything like that. So credits Travis Kelce in these last couple of games, not necessarily the rest in Week 18, but just it's the postseason. It's the playoffs, and wants to go up against the best. Here is Special Teams Coordinator Dave Tope.
With the conditions up there, with the wind, we talked to Harrison about it a little bit. We saw some kickoffs
Yeah.
going different lengths, and obviously
It was a little different, I listened to Butker's media, and he talked about how the stadium was lower, and he's absolutely right. I mean, that wind was coming over the top and kind of swirling in there. So that first kick that he made was really a great kick, into that wind right there. That was a 47-yarder, and it was right at our line. Our line was 48, and he made that kick, which was huge at that point. Kind of stopped the bleed, and they scored, we scored, and kind of settled everybody down. Very, very, very critical in that game.
And then for anything on M&T Bank that you,
Excuse me?
the Ravens Stadium that you know about as far from that win standpoint?
We played there. Obviously it was 21. I can't remember exactly. It'll be game to game. We go in and we really evaluate, the day, what happens during that day that you're there. So it's always different.
Dave, what do you think about Justin Tucker and Harrison Butker?
They're both great kickers. Obviously, Harrison is. If he's, I'm kind of biased because he's my guy, but they're both neck and neck to me. And I think Tucker's outstanding. When you watch him, he's just so pure in everything he does and consistent and strong leg. It's just amazing. And he's been doing it for such a long time. So he's the best. He's good.
Dave, along those lines, we're all talking about Patrick and Lamar, but from your perspective, are you going to just thinking about Justin and
I try to, I'm trying to have Butker just focus on himself. If you start thinking about what he's doing, there's no sense in that, really. They're not really going against each other, really, in a sense. So, the only time they really see each other is in pregame when they're looking at each other's kicks. So, other than that, it's they both. It's a friendly competition. Obviously they look at each other, they admire each other. I'm sure. I know Butker does.
An enticing part of the game. That whole matchup.
Oh yeah, it's huge. This whole thing. John Harbaugh. I worked for 20 years ago. I worked for John Harbaugh. I was his assistant special teams coach. So he taught me a lot. Just about almost everything I know, I learned about special teams when I first started. So I have a lot of respect for him, and I know how important special teams is to John. And I know what the emphasis they put on it on their football team, whether it's the roster and how much time they practice and. So all those things, the personnel, the guys they have, the coaches, Chris Horton and Randy Brown, those guys are great coaches, So, we know we got our hands full, and it's, when you put it on the tape, you see it. You see how hard the guys are playing, the schemes that they have. It's going to be a great challenge, and it's a game within the game. In this game, a close game could come down to special teams, and it's going to be a great battle.
Thinking of a return against the Texans for a touchdown, out of character for them, or was that just
very out of character, and I'm sure John, it's a thorn in John's side. I guarantee it. There's no question about that, and they're going to work hard not to have that happen again. But yeah, that's a rarity, against that team.
Looking back
Last two, right here.
Dave, looking back to last week, Bills decided to go for it, on that fake fourth down.
Yep.
What were you telling your guys? Were you guys expecting that, or?
It was fourth and 5 at the 30. So every time you come on the field with your punt return, the first thing you want to do is play defense first, and that's all we always talk about that. We want the ball back, so it's always that. And you heard Bolton as he was coming off the field, watch the fake, and that's every time it's watch the fake, unless it's 4th and 25 or so. But anytime it's close like that, you'll hear guys say that. Just a reminder for everybody. And our guys. The 6 guys that were inside the box did an outstanding job. They saw it, they read it, they didn't get reached, they stopped it, and made it cut back. Leo and Cole Christensen made the tackle. I'm so proud of those guys, the way they rose up and made a play.
How do you assess the job that Richie has been doing, and if Tony were available, would that be open up for a potentially home run shot later in different situations?
Yeah, I mean that's always a possibility. We're gonna go. We're gonna stick with Richie. Richie's been our guy. He's at meetings. He knows what's going on, and he's been good. And he's been really good. He's making good decisions, and he's solid. And that's what we're looking for right now. Injuries or something like that, you might see Tony. You might see Hartman.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
All right, there's Dave Tobe getting ready for the Baltimore Ravens. They did give up the special teams touchdown last week. Interesting. Nick Bolton yelling, watch the fake as he ran off the field.
Could have stayed on the field if he wanted.
I mean, he could have been the 11th guy. Crediting those guys that were in the box. Not enough credits going to Deion Bush. Deion Bush made a phenomenal play. Here's Matt Nagy.
How did things kind of get to where they where you guys were having those issues? Was that a slow thing or something just kind of popped up?
Not necessarily. I think when you see some of the things that happened on tape, like the one game where, getting in and out of the huddle for different reasons, whether it's personnel or whether it's what we have in the play call, I think it's a combination of all of that, So sometimes that kind of stuff makes you look back and say, okay, what can we do differently to help these guys out? Start with us on our side, and then what do they need to do on their end to make it come together? And that's what we did, and I think the best part of it was that no one took offense to any of it. We just said, hey, how are we going to get better? And it started with that, and there's a lot of other things that go into it with execution and play design and everything, but put it all together and see what happens, and that's kind of what we did.
It seemed like Pat and MVS were on the same page. That hasn't happened at other times this season. But anything to that, or why do you think that MVS was able to have such success?
Well, he made two really good catches. The first one to start the third quarter was a really, really good throw by Pat. And it was a great catch by Quez. It was a contested catch, trying to keep your feet in bounds and make the catch. That momentum to start the second half is huge to get going. And so there's a little bit of confidence that's there. So I don't know if I know the answer to, the time that we've been together and working through things, but I do know this, Quez has really stepped up at big time games and big moments for us over the past 2 years. And when he makes those plays and Pat makes those throws, it's only going to improve their confidence in each other.
Why has Pat maintained trust in him? I mean, obviously he caught some heat for the ball against the Eagles and some other things that happened this year, but it seems like Pat isn't shy about going to him.
Yeah, he's not, and I think it's a quality that Pat has is, you also see a guy with Quez who literally, since the day he's been here starting last year, every day of practice, every day in meetings, in the games, he's always there. He's available, he's there. And so you're going to have some times where you don't connect, but I think it just speaks to who Pat is with his teammates, of the trust level that he has, and earning trust through Pat is real. And Quez is a vet, he knows that. And I want to give a lot of credit to Quez for being able to fight through and get through, for him, a down year statistically, but he does so much stuff that's not a stat to help this offense out. So for him to have stuff that gets seen by everybody with those two big catches, it's nice to see for him.
Rashid has mentioned he's a lot more comfortable changing his route on the fly after he sees post-snap. Just how have you seen him grow from a processing standpoint?
Yeah, it's been really great to see Rashid every week get a little bit better within the play calls, within the play design, and then within the game of him just making plays, whether it's his explosiveness, his physicality, his ability to make contested catches, his ability to make the easy catch and stay away from drops, all of that. And I mean, he's doing it in elements of weather, and he's doing it in elements of playoff games. That's, to me, what's really, really neat to see him grow as a rookie. He is a rookie, so it's been great for him growth-wise.
You guys have been getting more big plays in the running game lately. Something you can put your finger on there? Why?
Nothing schematically per se. I think it probably just took a little bit longer for us, for whatever reason, this year to try to figure out what we want to do and how we want to do it. And then the guys too, like they the offensive line, the tight ends, the running backs, they stayed persistent with staying aggressive, staying together, and staying physical. So when you do all that, it's something that I think is able to get you bigger plays.
You talked about the success of Marquez last game. How much does that open up everything else for Kelsey?
A lot, because the more guys that you have that can make those plays, if you have one guy or just two guys, they can double guys and try to take both of them away. So when you have these other players that can make big plays and impact the game, you know, Quez is a fast receiver. He can do things down the field. He can make plays. So when you have that, it opens up other guys and it helps our offense out. So that's what we strive for.
Thanks, everybody.
Good. All right. Take care. See you.
All right, there's Matt Nagy getting ready for the Baltimore Ravens. We'll see what his offense can do. Andy Reid's offense as well can do against the Baltimore Ravens this weekend. That phenomenal defense. We'll hear from Steve Spagnuolo here in just a little bit as the Chiefs defense will have to go up against Lamar Jackson and that Ravens offense as well.
Nagy said something there about it taking longer for whatever reason for them to figure out what they needed to do this year.
That's one of the things that I noted too.
Man, we've gotten so many different answers on all that.
Probably took a little longer to figure out what we wanted to do and how to do it. Okay. But I thought you were close the whole time. You knew what you wanted to do, how to do it, and the players you had out there, we're very close. We're right there. We're very close. We're just going to stay with it. We're going to stick to it, keep doing what we've been doing, and that thing's going to click.
I said 3 months ago that we would eventually get Mahomes to admit this was the hardest, most tumultuous season of his career, and he almost said it during his presser earlier. Somebody asked him, "Oh, we were so close. I thought I was going to get to cash that one in."
Because no injuries. There wasn't the injury issue, but learning how to win. It's different ways. Learning about, getting the team in position of wins over stats and all of that stuff.
He almost started that answer with, "Yeah." He does that sometimes.
Yeah, I mean,
that's all I need. Well, give me a yeah, and I feel like again I can cash in that prediction.
That would have been great.
I don't think I've got the Mahomes impression anymore. I don't think I sometimes accidentally break into something that sounds sort of like Kermit the Frog, but I can't gravel it up that way.
Yeah, I'm not that good with that one either.
My Spags impression, however, is great.
Yes.
I'll start doing it here in just a little bit.
Yeah, you sound just like him. It's almost like we throw to Steve Spagnuolo. It's like, oh, no, we're throwing to Josh.
I have a way of throwing my voice so it sounds like it's being processed through some technology that's actually bringing it in from off-site. It's pretty cool.
Yeah, it's great. And then we'll get a text of hey, here we go, Josh. Let's do your Steve Spagnuolo impression. He'll be there eventually.
Unfortunately,
you think he's still talking with Romo and Nance?
I don't. I think from last week. I don't think he ever stopped. I think they were in an earbud on the sideline against Buffalo.
You think Spagnuolo prays anytime a quarterback starts running?
I feel like he's the defensive coordinator in football most likely to say, "Well, when Lamar tucks, I just start praying.
I just pray." Good afternoon, good evening. We're told that on a little bit of a holding pattern, and the commentary on the holding pattern is exactly what we just talked about. And
I feel like we can read this, and it wouldn't be putting Lebo on blast or anything. It's good. This
Lebo?
is from Lebo. We can read it from
okay.
Lebo. Then I'll read it if Lebo wants to fight me when he gets back. So I'm assuming Spags is giving long, thoughtful answers to someone in another room right now. That's Spags, baby.
Yeah,
that's Spags. He's probably right.
Good afternoon. I don't really have much for you. Just getting ready for the Ravens. But
12:18, later than usual.
Fire away.
He had talked to Andy and Patrick before. You have any questions for me?
God, what if he just randomly went, and with that, I'm all ears.
I would
Oh, my
freak
God,
out.
thanks.
I would spontaneously combust. What?
And with that, I'm all ears. Wow. No wonder this team has finally found their identity.
You could ask Nick later. He'd be better to ask anyway.
They ripped the mask off Spags, and it's Eric Bieniemy the whole time.
Eric Bieniemy under the whole time.
And I would have got away with it, too. It wasn't you damn shock jock reporters, Todd.
I don't think they would have gotten away with it. Just build-wise, it's just, I don't know if they would have gotten
that. Why has this
that.
team been able to figure it out offensively? They ripped the face off of Nagy. It's Eric Bieniemy. When it's all said and done, at the end of the day, would have got away with it.
For whatever reason, it took us longer to figure out what we needed to do.
Hell of an investigation.
Hell of a team.
Of an investigator.
Heck of a team. Andy Reid said yesterday that Andy Heck was doing a heck of a job. Was that Andy yesterday? I think it was Andy yesterday.
Whoa.
And I think he caught himself.
Yeah. Did he change it to hell of a job?
Yeah, he said he does a bleep of a job, and it was really jarring.
That's a crap of a job.
Whoa, he does an F of a job. That doesn't even make sense, dude.
I don't think you're using that in the correct context.
Hey, here's something I don't know. Were you listening to most of the pressers yesterday? The most interesting thing I think was from Justin Reed talking about what the Ravens offense can do to an opposing defense is they grind you down through the first half, and in the second half they keep that intensity.
Yeah.
And then that was immediately followed up by a question of something we talked about a lot this year of the Chiefs defense being better in the second half. What is Spags' defense doing and everything, right?
Interesting.
Immovable force, unstoppable object.
Yeah.
But I'm guessing Spags will get asked about this today. I can't remember who brought it up yesterday, but Reed said it's the Spagnuolo effect, being better in the second half. So we make adjustments at halftime, and you buy into what this guy can do.
Here's Steve's.
It's already today. You don't really want to see it. Listen, I don't have anything to open up with other than I'm glad I'm here in front of them with you guys and gals, because that means we're still playing. So hopefully we can do it again next week. With that, I'll open it up.
Steve, obviously you're consumed with shutting down Lamar and shutting down the Ravens, but I do wonder if just from a step back standpoint, you have an appreciation for Patrick versus Lamar as a theme of this game.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this league is a lot about the quarterbacks, right? We're fortunate that in this game we got two of the best ones in the league. You know, our goal and what we talk about all the time is let's just get the ball back to our quarterback. You know, that's our job, right? And the only way to do that is to make sure that their quarterback doesn't do the things we know he's capable of doing. But two dynamic players that I'm sure for TV and everybody watching this will be pretty fun.
And in seeing Lamar's success last week, do you feel like you saw him take a postseason step of any sort? He's labored a little bit in the postseason until now.
Yeah, I mean, I don't put too much credence into, we always put things in the rearview mirror. I ask our guys to do that, whether our performance was good or bad. I'm sure they do the same thing, and we look forward to this game, and we expect him to be as dynamic and on point as he was last week.
What's the challenge when you're expecting a star player like Mark Andrews to be back in the mix, and you don't necessarily have that recent film?
Yeah, that's a great point. We do think he'll play. We don't know that, but we're going to plan as if he is, and he's another weapon for the quarterback, and a trusted weapon. I mean, we've seen it. It happened early in the year, and we've seen it in previous years. We'll have to be on point. What you hope for is they're a little rusty, right? Because they haven't played a lot together. But these guys are pro athletes, and they know what they're doing, so I don't think we can completely trust that that's going to happen.
Steve, over the past few years, you've had to play some young guys. Another guy this year is Shamari.
Yeah.
He's been thrown in the fire a little bit. Talk about what you've seen.
Yeah, I'm really proud of Shamari, and really in the way he's developed. When he came here, I can remember back in OTAs, it was like, whoa, it's going to take a while, But because he wasn't used to some things that we were doing, and we're pretty multiple. But I'll tell you what, he has grinded at it. The vets around him have just kind of pulled him along, the LJs, and even Trent, and certainly Justin Reed, Mike Edwards back there. And he really, we kind of spoon-fed him early, right? We gave him piece by piece, and then he moved to nickel, and we could see he could do some things there. So and then he was out there with the guys, right? When you're here as a rookie, you're with the twos and the threes, right, in the walkthrough. And then all of a sudden, he's up there with the guys, right? And I think that gave him some confidence. He does play. You all see that. He plays fast, and he's physical. And I'll take that all the time.
Is he feeding off of the other guys?
Yeah. Yeah, very much so. And he's getting a little bit more vocal. That wasn't his big thing, but he is now because he's confident in what he's saying and seeing. And I think our guys like playing around him and trust him. That's a big thing.
Steve, how did you feel like you did against Josh Allen, the running part of his game?
Yeah.
Given all the other things you had to defend also last week?
Yeah, we would have liked to have done better. I mean, I was over there praying like heck he'd make a mistake. Yeah, he never made a mistake. He didn't make a mistake when to scramble, when not to scramble, when to throw, where to throw it to. Didn't turn the ball over. Even the one time when Chris made a heck of a play getting out of there, got it on the ground, we couldn't get it. We would have liked to have defended him better, certainly in the first half, right, to get the ball back to Patrick a little bit more. But they were just really good at possessing the ball. The third downs early, like the first third down, that still kills me. It was 3rd and 17 or something, right? But he makes a play. I don't know how you defend that, Breaks out of there, everybody's trying to go get the scrambling quarterback, right? And then he flicks it to the running back. And then they get the 4th and 1 and they get, but we would have liked to defend, we certainly need to defend this quarterback better than we did last week to make things go the way we want.
Playing against him last week, did that help you?
Playing against Josh?
Yeah, did that help you probably
yeah,
this week or no?
Mitch just mentioned that when we had a conversation out there, Mitch Holtis, and I think there is something to that. Like, the challenge is the same. You know, quarterback that can throw it, that can run it, that can scramble, right? It's like 3 dimensions instead of 2. And some of the things that we normally would put in a game plan for that type of quarterback were in there last week. They'll carry over to this week. And, so hopefully practicing 2 weeks in that kind of.
Let's do 3 more. Go ahead, Todd, and then Michelle, and then Todd.
Piggyback on that, Lamar's a little bit of a different athlete
Yeah.
than Josh, right? So do the principles change at all in terms of contain and stuff like that? And then also, what value would it have if Willie's healthy and ready to go?
Yeah, good point about Willie. They are different quarterbacks. You know, what we want to do to them might change a little bit. I don't want to dive too deep into it, but he's just like, if you put the film on, I mean, it's like, okay, how do you defend that? It's another one of those, right? Because there's some things he does that nobody else does, and the best thing we can do is try to contain him as best we can. To me, the best thing we did last week, if we could do this again, which is hard to do, is limit the explosive passes. I mean, I think that helps us. You know, then it makes him kind of matriculate down the field, and hopefully we can make a play somewhere along the way. The Willie thing is a really good one. I don't know where we'll be right now, but he, you know, you all know he adds a piece in passing downs. Now, as we talk about that, we got to get him in those passing downs. Last time we played this crew, I know it's a different offensive coordinator, but we only had 11 third downs, and 5 or 6 of them were 1 to 4. We need that needs to change to have any kind of success or have a chance at success. So that's what we'll be trying to do. Somebody else.
Yeah, following up on that question, actually, you know, Lamar's skill set is so unique. What have you guys been doing to sort of, obviously, to replicate that skill set of practice on the scout team, and how difficult is it to simulate the speed at which they?
It's really hard to do. We do have a guy now. I'm going to ask Sid to help me out. Chris, and I can't say Chris's last name with O. Yeah, there you go. Thank you. But he did it yesterday for us, and I would say this: we're fortunate that we have Chris. He did it last week for us. He was Josh Allen, and Blaine did a little bit of it too. But you can't simulate it. And then even in practice, Chris, you're not tackling anybody, so you're not finishing on a guy. But there are some things that we have talked about in how we should practice to prepare for him. And I think Chris gives us as good a look as we're going to get, you know, during the course of a practice week.
Yesterday, Justin Reed was telling us how the Ravens kind of take the starch out of you. You know, you may come out and play real hard in that first quarter, but they're just kind of relentless as they go.
Yeah.
How important is it to have that energy for the 4 quarters against these guys in particular?
Yeah, no question. I mean, I was a little fearful last week when we played so many plays in the first half. But we found a way to get off the field a couple times in the second half. We can't get into that kind of game and those long drives like that with Baltimore, because it would be really tough. I mean, listen, I was there in Baltimore for 2 years working with John Harbaugh. I got a tremendous amount of respect for him. He's one of the best in the league. I'm a better coach because I work for John. Where I'm going with it is I know exactly what he's telling them, you know, and it's what you're talking about. And he's built the team that way, you know, to come right at you, you know, whether it's run or pass, and just keep bullying your way downfield. So we need to be prepared for that and find a way to kind of match that with the same kind of aggressive, fast play that they do.
Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
Got it all? Good. Thank you. Yep.
So we found out that when Josh Allen was out there running, that Steve Spagnuolo said he was praying that he would make a mistake. So there it is. We nailed it, by the way.
As quickly as we've ever been right about anything ever.
Yep.
Thank you, Spags.
Nailed it. And a quick changeover from Steve Spagnuolo, defensive coordinator, to Nick Bolton.
We got 11 guys out there, man, to do the jobs. I think the line's going to go out there, have a great game. Last week was kind of an anomaly for them. They've been out there balling for us for 18, 19 weeks. So we're going to get back to where we are. I've got to tackle a little bit better. It starts up front, though.
Nick, having faced a quarterback last week who likes to run and did several times,
Mm-hmm.
feel like that helps you prepare for Lamar Jackson, or their style so different that it really doesn't help?
I think it's a little carryover, for sure. Those guys are both electric with the ball out in space. They're able to look down the field and still make passes while still escaping. Both guys like to go out to their right, man, and rightfully so, the right-handed quarterback. So we got to limit that as much as we can, man, and place the key coverage in the back end when he scrambles.
Nick, what do you think will become in defending Lamar, just because he has that sideline-to-sideline speed ability?
Hopefully we get him back this week. Again, I know he's battling to get back, but if it's not Willie, that's going to be next man up, man. We got a couple guys that can still do his job and try to go out there and execute the game plan. It's next man up mentality. When you get this part of the season, injuries is part of the game.
Nick, when you look at Lamar, what do you think, over the course of time this season has been the key to his success? What has made him able to do all the things he's been able to do?
Yeah, if I go back to watch my rookie year, watch how he operated and how he operates now, man, I can tell he's more confident in himself, the players around him, the scheme. He just kind of slowed the game down for him a little bit. I kind of feel like it's kind of helped him continue to get better and better as the years go by. I think last year Kyle would have been pretty good as well before he got hurt. Now, yeah, so he's just kind of building up year after year, giving himself a chance in the pocket, not escaping as much, keeping his eyes down the field, man, and just letting his pass catchers be explosive.
They like to use tight ends. It looks like maybe Mark Andrews maybe back as well. They've got a lot of really good tight ends. How key is that for you guys to try to contain that portion of what they do?
Yeah, man, I think it starts with they run the ball, man. Average 160 per game, so that starts with that. Then they kind of just pull off of that a little bit, let Zay get going, Odell get going with a couple explosives, and work the intermediate routes with the tight end. So I think it's going to start up front with linebackers, the D-line, stopping the run, and then just mixing up a little bit in the back end, trying to see if we get different guys on the tight ends. We understand that both of those guys are very explosive with the ball, both vertical routes as well.
How impressive have you been with what Connor has been able to do, just being a rookie and stepping in for Mike?
Yeah, man, it was huge. He's one of those guys that because of his body type, he can play multiple positions. Plays nickel, plays safety, play a little bit of dime, play a little bit of everything. So like him coming in, moving from nickel, playing the back end, and down there playing sticky coverage, man, and mixing it up, making open field tackles, forced a fumble, first play of the game. I think that kind of exudes his confidence, man. He's going every single week. I'm proud of where he's at, but I think he's still got a lot of great football in front of him as well.
You're around him more than anybody. I guess, what do you think makes Steve Spagnuolo a good defensive coordinator? What's his best asset?
Yeah, not afraid to change. He'll change what we've been going through all week in the first quarter, second quarter, fourth quarter. Just trying to find ways that he has one of those things like to say a lot is it's not about who's right, it's about getting it right. So that's kind of the mindset we have throughout the game. We feel like there's something better that can work or makes us a little bit more benefit us a little bit more. In the second half, we'll make that adjustment. We'll execute the game plan. We'll find ways to get people off the board.
Last one. Thanks, Nick.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, there's Nick Bolton. Best part there was at the end.
It's an echoing of what we were just talking about that Justin Reed said yesterday. I appreciate Nick Bolton, whoever asked that question of Nick Bolton. Yeah. That's great.
Not afraid of it. What makes Steve Spagnuolo special, defensive coordinator, not afraid of change. It's not about who's right, but getting it right. And we'll make adjustments and do things during the game. And, sort of, this is our game plan. We did this all week, so we got to stay with it. Well, this is our game plan. We're doing all week. It ain't working. Mm-hmm. So let's figure something out. And the conversation about, was it Justin Reed yesterday that said at halftime, they did things at halftime that they hadn't done all year, that they changed some things up, and all of a sudden in the second half they're doing things that they hadn't done. And there's a trust in the defensive coordinator that, okay, he's got your best interest. You trust him in the scheme that he knows what he's doing. And there's a clear trust from the defensive coordinator to the players that I know we haven't done this all year, and we certainly haven't practiced this, but this is how we're going to do these certain schemes now in this second half, because then it gives an unscouted look to the Bills. And they scored 7 points in the second half against the Chiefs.
And going back again to Reed, the other thing that Reed said yesterday is that it is about, there is something mutual of believing in Spags and the adjustments he's going to make, and Spags believing in those guys to make those adjustments. I hate to bring up Dan Sorensen and Ben Neiman the week of an AFC Championship game, but even those struggles, Anthony Hitchens, why was he out there so often? Even now, why is Nick Bolton out there 100% of the snaps when he's healthy? Well, because Spags wants to be able to have players on this defense who can adjust in real time. And they spend a week installing this game plan. Here's what we want to do, but here's what we know is going to happen next.
Here's Rashee Rice.
First AFC Championship game for you. What's this season been like? I know the expectation when you get here is this is what happens in Kansas City. Has anything surprised you throughout this playoff run?
Nah, not necessarily. To be honest, the most surprising part is, it's just a different perspective when you're watching on TV and you don't have like personal relationships with those guys. And I mean, just being a part of it and, actually having to put your head down and grind to get to where you got to get.
A couple of coaches have mentioned that your willingness to ask questions as you've gone here. How important has Marquez, him especially been important to your development?
He's been very important. If there's anybody, that's helping me, a lot on the field and off the field is Marquez. Anything I need to know, he's there for me to help me even when it comes to playing, against other teams. He's been in the league for 5-6 years, so he's been playing against a lot of those guys, so he can let me know anything I need to know.
We talked to Pat maybe yesterday about how he guarded against frustration. Andy talked about his willingness to teach and just keep working through the struggle. Is there a moment that stands out, like a time where Pat taught you something or had a conversation with you at some point this season?
Every day. I mean, we're always putting in, different routes and stuff like that, and just, changing up personnel and formations. So, when it comes to running, certain routes against zone and man defense, it's just like without me even having to go to Pat's gonna let me know what he's looking for so I can know how to run my route.
So what's Pat like as a teacher?
I mean, a number one teacher, the best teacher you can get. If you want anybody to, tell you how to do something, you want the primary source, and he's gonna let you know.
Rasheed Trav talked about how his message is to you guys, the fact that the deeper you go in the playoffs, the speed of the game changes, the intensity, raises. Have you experienced that these past couple games?
Yeah. I mean, every game it just seems like it gets a little bit faster. Obviously, we're kind of getting prepared for that throughout the week, just because it's real intense in there. The intensity goes up in practice. The margin of error, it goes down or little to none. Like, we don't really look to have any mistakes during this time. So.
You haven't had much time off, right? When you prepared for the draft, really long season. How's the body feel? Took a pretty good shot in the second half of that game. Are you holding up physically throughout all this as well?
Yeah, of course. I got the vest around me, like I said, so they teach me how to take care of my body throughout the long season. I was prepared to, I was looking forward to having a long season this year, despite getting ready for the combine, the draft and stuff like that, just because I love this game. I didn't get to the NFL to have a short season.
Anything in particular that you've changed, that you've learned from the vets? I mean, whether it's sleep habits or food or anything that's prepared you to do this?
Everything. Eating habits, definitely sleep, but like I said, just staying on top of your body. Even, our days are long. I get up in the morning for treatment and I'm ready to go home like 30 minutes away and just get away and go lay in my bed, but I gotta go back to the training room to stay on top of my body.
Rasheed, let's talk about playing some of these games on the road, and that was a big storyline last week, is what the Chiefs will look like in the postseason on the road. From what I know, you're a rookie, but from what you've been able to observe, what is it about this locker room or about this team that when 70,000 people are booing you guys, you've been able to respond?
I would say the fact that, we personally, we know that it's the Chiefs versus everybody. No matter if, the fans feel like the rest are on our side. We just know we come here every day, to put in the work together. So if anybody is going to be, leaning on somebody, it's going to be us, each other.
Patrick mentioned sometimes where he makes a check or does something with the receiver, and eventually it gets to a point where they kind of, they're almost in a mind meld. How close do you feel like you are to knowing exactly what Patrick wants to do on a play-to-play basis in that regard?
I think I'm very close. It's even some plays where I'm waiting and expecting for Pat to, give me a sign or something, just because I feel like I can I can win on the route. But sometimes, I just gotta stick to the route, and know Pat know what he's doing.
Last question, anyone?
Yeah, Rasheed, what do you see from the Ravens defense?
I see aggressive defense. They got great corners. They got great size. At the end of the day, I feel like they're as far as a full defense, they're really good at rallying to the ball. So we just got to make our catches and be ready to get tackled and score touchdowns.
All right, thanks, Jeff.
Appreciate it.
All right, there you go. There's the Chiefs at the podium today on this Thursday, getting ready for the AFC Championship game, 6 in a row for the Kansas City Chiefs. We heard from Andy Reid and Patrick Mahomes and Dave Tobe and Matt Nagy and Steve Spagnuolo and Nick Bolton and Rashee Rice as well. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back. We'll continue rolling, get into some of the things that we heard. More Zone coming up next. Conferences there, at least a lot of people at the podium talking about this game coming up this weekend. I want to hear from, this actually came from the locker room yesterday, while different people were at the podium yesterday. Shamari Connor, Steve Spagnuolo's talked about Shamari Connor in the press conference today. He played a pretty damn good game. Double-digit tackles, had a forced fumble on the first play of the game, and almost a scoop and score for a touchdown. Shamari Connor in the locker room yesterday talking about that fumble almost recovery in Buffalo.
I wish I would have had it, but, next time, knowing the importance of the situation, I definitely jump on it.
Yeah, what's the protocol there? Because a lot of times DBs, I assume they want you to kind of scoop and score. You're more athletic there and everything. Other times to pounce. What was the lesson learned or what the coaches said after?
It's really if people in the area, you want to jump on it. If nobody's around, then you'll want to scoop it. It was somebody in the area, so I should have jumped on it.
Was there anybody in front of you who just scored?
Oh, yeah, I definitely.
I agree with that.
Yeah.
Watching the All-22, he scores. He picks it up, he scores. And I get it. But also it's like, well, there was somebody in the area. Well, it was an arm in the area. Like Dalton Kincaid was technically in the area. And because the fact that Dalton Kincaid reaches out and hits the ball when Shamari Connor's picking it up, I'm not so sure that if Shamari Connor just comes and pounces on it, that Dalton Kincaid also's hand is not in there to rip it back, and who knows what happens then. The Chiefs, because there's a number of people around there, probably end up recovering it because with that ball then laying there and Shamari Connor overrunning it when it gets knocked out of his hands, and it allowed the Buffalo Bills offensive lineman that was the only other person in the area, which would have been the guy that would have been there to try to tackle Shamari Connor if he picked it up. But I do believe he would have scored, and it had been what a great play by Chris Jones and stripping the football from Josh Allen, and a great hustle play by Chris Jones, who was rushing against the left tackle and then peels around and then chases Josh Allen down and knocks the ball loose, and then Shamari Connor picks it up and scores, and wow, putting the icing on the cake of a double-digit victory that could have been even more because Mecole Hardman ends up fumbling in the end zone, and just a dominant victory. Instead of people coming away going, well, the Bills just missed opportunities. Well, Josh Allen outplayed Patrick Mahomes. It's actually a thing that
Yeah.
I'll still take Josh Allen over Patrick Mahomes.
It's still a thing that people shouldn't have been saying before that game. And
I'll contort
even
my
less
entire
sense.
brain to try to explain why I would take Josh Allen over Patrick Mahomes.
Squeeze this
no matter
thing,
what.
No matter what it takes. I will make my brain triangle.
There's some gymnastics for you.
I do envy Dan Orlovsky. He's never watched an NFL game where a quarterback played bad. So I mean, he must enjoy Sundays.
that
every
Ryan
year.
that Ryan Clark. The Ryan Clark. Did you guys play that
I
yesterday
didn't,
by any chance?
I didn't.
Oh, you didn't
I don't
see
think I
it?
even saw. I skipped a lot of terrible takes yesterday.
Skip.
I saw it live.
Skip.
I don't think I saw Ryan Clark.
Skip.
On Orlovsky crime.
Marcus Spears was saying something because Orlovsky was like, Josh Allen, what more could he do? And then Marcus Spears was talking about it, and then Ryan Clark was like, whoa, Marcus. I know you're not saying that Josh Allen could have done. I know you're not saying that Stephon Diggs was open over the. I know you're not saying that they got stopped in a 3-and-out before the fake. I know you're not saying that he fumbled the football. I know you're not saying that Trent McDuffie knocked the ball away from an interception of his own player. I know you're not saying that because Josh Allen couldn't have done anything wrong. There's no way Josh Allen could have done anything more. Marcus, you can't possibly tell me that a quarterback, and just spent, a couple of minutes, and Don Orlovsky's just sitting there sort of with a wry smile like, I know what he's talking about, and not saying anything, and Ryan Clark's, shaking a piece of paper about, all this defending of Josh Allen, and yet Josh Allen lost. All this defending, yet he lost. One person that did do that was, and so Marcus Spears in the background is just cracking up and laughing, and Dan Orlovsky's just like, I understand, but I thought he played well enough to win. I thought he what more could he do? So, yeah, that was pretty good. Ryan Clark went on like a 2-minute rant of, I know you're not saying that this could have been. I know Josh Allen couldn't have done it. I know that there's no way that could have happened. There's no way he could have done anything more than what he did. You watched it live, Dylan, when that happened?
I watched that, but I watched Get Up live.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I've also found. There's also another. I found a
Yes.
Get Up clip here that I haven't seen.
That was essentially where it was workshopped live on television, where Ryan Clark was just going at Dan for the same thing, essentially, and laying out great points. It was way less sarcastic and more upfront and obviously directly to his face. But It's really annoying because it's like Dan feels like he's the PR for all NFL quarterbacks, it seems, and he has
Yeah.
to come on the show on Monday. And if a quarterback threw 4 interceptions and had a rating of 20, it would somehow be the receivers running the wrong routes or the offensive coordinator doing. It's just.
Yeah, the main clip is the get up one. I'm going to try to find the one that was from NFL Live that was yesterday afternoon. We'll take a timeout. We'll come back, continue rolling more zone next. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll play some sports or leisure coming up in the 1 o'clock hour. We found the clip I was talking about that was from NFL Live yesterday that they were, Ryan Clark and Dan Orlovsky were talking about the game, the Bills, and, Dan Orlovsky talking about, Josh Allen couldn't have done anything more. Josh Allen, did everything he could, and Josh Allen this and Josh Allen that, and all about Josh Allen and poor Josh Allen and poor this, poor that. Sad Josh Allen, even though he can't win, it's nothing to do with Josh Allen. And by the way, the point that Ryan Clark made on Get Up was, it's weird because Lamar needs to figure out how to win. Lamar's got to win. Lamar does this. Josh Allen. Well, what more could Josh Allen do? Josh Allen, I mean, he's so big and he's so physical. But Marcus Spears was making his point yesterday about the game and the Bills, and then Ryan Clark jumped in and sarcastically talking about Dan Orlovsky, saying that Josh Allen played essentially a perfect game and just was let down by all the outside factors other than anything he could control.
In the fourth quarter, Buffalo came up short a few plays than Kansas City did in order to get a win.
No, Marcus. Don't you say Buffalo came up short. Don't you say that a quarterback could have made some more plays. Marcus, I know you didn't show that Trent McDuffie should have had an interception, and that if Trent McDuffie wouldn't have touched it, that L'Jarius Sneed would have picked it off. Marcus, I know you didn't talk about him rolling out of the pocket and not throwing the ball to Dalton Schultz when Dalton Schultz was open. I know you didn't talk about him holding it and waiting for Shakir to clear and throw it past the safety instead of hitting Kincaid or instead of hitting Stephon Diggs. No, that didn't happen because all that happened was Stephon Diggs dropped the ball. Josh Allen didn't fumble the ball and Kansas City didn't fall on it. Josh Allen didn't try to throw a pick and Kansas City didn't catch it. All that happened yesterday was Buffalo continuously let Josh Allen down. Ain't no way other things happen in a football game that can sometimes gotta play through freaking adversity. And guess who did it for the third time in the playoffs was Patrick Mahomes. You beat him in the regular season all the time, Josh, but when the stakes have raised, you ain't won nan.
Are you okay, Dan?
I did this with it for 4 hours.
I know.
You don't know now.
But yeah. Let's
You
do it
don't know
again.
now.
You got anything?
I mean, if
You don't know now.
If we got one big play down the field caught, it's a different game. Credit Kansas City for their win.
Hey,
Dan,
it's an issue when you say what we're saying. It's on the margins.
It's an issue when you say if we
yeah. First of all, who is we?
You play for NFL Live.
You play for NFL.
Play for NFL Live.
I understand. By the way, saying we doesn't bother me for Dan Orlovsky because he's
playing
talking about
offense
from the perspective of if we do this.
Yeah.
Peyton Manning and Eli all the time in the
Manning cast.
I mean, come on, we got to get. How can you catch it? We got to come up with that play there.
They're still playing quarterback.
Quarterbacks do that all the time, so that isn't an issue.
But I love
there,
that was funny.
But I love the like. I know you're not saying no.
Get him.
Yeah, that's right, Marcus. Get him.
Get him. That can be I can do that.
Get
role. Get him.
Get him.
Noted Q39 fan.
That's right. Yeah, brings them to the cursing. That's for sure. It's so good, so good.
You know what I say when I see barbecue? Maybe a little bit away from me. Get him.
I know you're not saying this. I know you're not saying that he could have done anything more.
Get him.
I know you're. Yeah, Josh, you beat him in the regular season, but when it comes to the postseason, you ain't one man.
Get him.
Why not both?
You're going to have a heart attack by the time you're 40 if you don't learn to relax.
It's time for sports or leisure on The Zone with Jason Anderson.
All right, let's play some sports or leisure. 913-381-0810 is the phone number. First in, first on. 913-381-0810. Playing some sports or leisure. Presented by Johnny's Tavern. Number one sports bar in the area. 10 locations, including Lawrence and Topeka. It is home to the special Mondays after a Chiefs game. You get the percentage off whatever the Chiefs score in the game the day before or the previous game. But this case, it'll be the day before. Specialty pizza, 18-inch New York-style specialty pizza, dine-in only. You get that percentage off at Johnny's Tavern. And we'll be giving away $25 to Johnny's Tavern for those that get a sports question and a leisure question right. 913-381-0810.
I don't know why, but I think today, more than any other Thursday in a long time, you talking about Johnny's Pizza gave me like a deep desire to have a slice. I feel like I'm not sure I can go on not having a slice of pizza. Dylan, do you want to do the leisure questions if I just go to Johnny's? I could do that for you.
Or I could go to Johnny's, and then you guys just handle it. I'll just leave you up. And then
Kyle, what are you doing for the next 45 minutes? Sounds like you're going to Johnny's.
I was going to say, sounds like you're running the board for Dylan while he goes to Johnny's.
Either way.
Well, that wouldn't make a whole lot of... Shut up! I don't care. Somebody's got to go.
Kyle, do you want to come do the leisure questions? And I will go to Johnny's.
Kyle, you're hosting. I'll be back. I'll be right back.
Curtis, what are you doing for the next... Okay, all right.
He is typing and saving audio away right now.
He could be getting us pizza.
Yeah,
Jason, what would be better for us? Curtis working on pre-show production for the program or Curtis getting us Johnny's?
Johnny's.
Hello. What do you think about us for once?
About time. It'd be a nice change.
Really would.
That's right. All right, 913-381-0810 is the phone number. Here are the categories today. Same as last week, just freshened up. NFL and Chiefs playoffs because, it is the playoff season still going on. Chiefs are still alive, if anybody realized that. But NFL and also specific questions about the Chiefs in the playoffs. And there's a couple of questions mixed in the Chiefs playoffs about this game specifically, Chiefs and Ravens, that may not be answers that are Chiefs players, but they are about sort of the Chiefs and Ravens game coming up this weekend. So there's kind of a subset to that category. But still, NFL, just general, and Chiefs playoff questions. What about on the leisure side?
This is going to blow your mind, but I have the same categories as last week, just freshened up a little bit.
What?
I have the spelling bee. We've got the What Could An IMDb game, where I'll read you a plot synopsis from a movie on IMDb. You got to tell me the movie. The pun name game, and a century ago, questions from 1924 that will be on this list until 2124. Just because nobody seems to want to pick this category. It's a good category, though.
Yeah. Finalists for Coach of the Year have been announced. D'Amico Ryans, Kevin Stefanski, John Harbaugh, Dan Campbell, and Kyle Shanahan. So 3 of the 4 coaches remaining in the conference championship games are up for Coach of the Year. 3 of the 4. Because there's no way Andy Reid could be Coach of the Year because they're the defending Super Bowl champions, and what everybody knows, every single season is a carryover from the season before.
I have 3 quick coaching things to just run by you because I saw one earlier that just made me roll my eyes, and 2 things just now that will make us all very happy.
Uh-huh.
So first, I saw on ESPN earlier this morning, this little headline with a clip from TV. Schefter speculates, could Bill Belichick replace Andy Reid in KC?
Well, you want to hear the clip?
You cut that?
Yeah.
Holy bleep, I didn't even see that. It was so infuriating. I rolled my eyes so hard into the back of my head.
Well, why don't you see?
I can't
let's
listen
see
to
after
it.
these 40
no,
seconds.
Jason, I can't listen
we'll see
to
if
it.
Josh Briscoe's eyes are in the front
No.
or back of his head. Let's
this
hear.
is purely speculative. I want to be very clear. And we're just throwing this out there, having some fun. But we've heard over and over about the possibility that at some point in time, Andy Reid could walk away from football.
He could walk?
So if the Chiefs were to win the Super Bowl this
Possibility
year,
at some
could
point in
that-
time.
Would that make him more likely to walk? And if he did walk at that point in time and you're the
In a
Kansas City
wheelchair?
Chiefs and Bill Belichick were still sitting out there, would that not be an interesting possibility if that's what Andy Reid decided to do, to go take a run at arguably the greatest coach of all time and to replace one legend with another? Again, we're having fun. We're throwing things out there, but that's interesting to watch if the Chiefs can find their way to win the Super Bowl.
I'm not having fun.
Josh should know there's a giant smile behind the glass over here from previous conversations that we have jokingly had.
Yeah.
About this very topic. So
Man, I go through it. I mark off when we hit the audio, so I have it all where it's supposed to be for the descriptions. I like to see what you.
There is a possibility that at some point Andy Reid will not be coaching anymore. Now, it is not a fact that at some point Andy Reid will not be coaching anymore. There is a possibility. It's all speculative. He is not reporting that at some point Andy Reid will not coach anymore at some point in the future. He is just saying there is speculation that at some point Andy Reid will, in fact, not be living and therefore not be able to coach. Or he'll walk. Be like Gene Wilder as Willy Wonka. Just, ta-da, and rolls right into, oh, hey, he's walking now. Oh, that's amazing.
It's a good reference.
Thank you.
And
Appreciate
secondarily, you know what? I'm going to stand up.
Are you walking?
I will exclusively report here on 810. I can confirm. Sources say Andy Reid not only will walk, he walked today.
What? No. I you know what? I'm also going to report right now. I am looking for a third source because I have more journalistic integrity than the two sources, whatever. I found a third source that this is not speculation at all. Andy Reid, at some point in the future, will not be coaching the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm reporting that right now.
It's really brave of you.
It is not. There's a chance of that. I am saying definitively, 100%. You heard it. So if Andy Reid ever retires, you know where you heard it here first.
You heard it here first.
If he ever ends up not coaching the Kansas City Chiefs at any point in the future.
Sorry, when. Not if. When is your report.
Thank you very much. Well, some people would say if.
You will not say if.
But when he's done coaching, you heard it here first, I am reporting that Andy Reid will, in fact, retire one day.
Here's part 2 and 3 of this whole thing. I can't believe I had to listen to that. Mike Florio.
You're welcome.
Thank you. Mike Florio has said the Chiefs are preparing, and then there's this tweet here saying, could Bill Belichick take a spot if that happened, or would the players demand Eric Bieniemy? Now, this is a great full circle moment for a lot of reasons, and I'm ignoring it all just to say that Tracy Wolfson quote tweeted that a little bit ago and said, "For my conversations with a lot of people close to Andy Reid and 2 years left on his contract, I would be very surprised if Reid retired."
Oh, did Michelle Tafoya weigh in on it?
Now, don't get distracted, everybody, from the fact that I am citing Tracy Wolfson, a real reporter who knows things and talks to people, and by people, I don't just mean Mike Florio.
Did she talk to Warren Sharp about the official?
She must ask him a question first.
I got that, by the way.
Yeah, thank you. It wasn't very subtle.
No, it's great. I liked it. All right, I'm ready to go. Josh, you ready to play?
Now I'm really ready to go.
Let's do the
Dylan,
damn
are you
thing.
ready to go? I'm ready to go.
Let's do the damn thing. All right, Charles, you lead us off here. 913-381-1080.
So annoyed.
Charles, sports or leisure? What side do you want to start with, sir?
Do some sports, NFL.
Sports, NFL for you. Okay. Let's go with this one. Speaking of great coaches, Andy Reid is coaching his sixth straight conference championship game. He also has 4 straight when he was with the Eagles as the head coach. He's one of 6 coaches to have at least 4 straight conference championship games as a head coach. Name 2 of the other 5. And he's the only one on there twice, by the way.
Bill Belichick.
Bill Belichick is 1. I thought that was a free space, so name one of the other 4.
At least
or one of the other 3, I guess it would be. Yep, one of the other 3. Oh, he's one of 5 coaches. I'm sorry, I added a coach in there. So Andy Reid
Just a
won
title
5
game,
coaches.
not AFC. It
Yep.
can be NFC as well.
Yep, NFC or AFC, because Andy Reid did it 4 straight times with the Eagles. So he's on there twice. Bill Belichick has 8. Andy Reid has 6. He broke He broke the tie by winning last week with a coach that had 5 straight. And then there are a couple of coaches that are tied with Andy Reid at 4 straight. Bill Belichick and littering and another coach and one other coach. One other coach.
Name a coach.
I'm I'm going to say Marv Levy.
Marv Levy is correct. That's right. He went to 4 straight with the Buffalo Bills. Marv Levy. Andy Reid broke a tie at 5 straight with John Madden in getting to a 6th straight. And then Tom.
Can I see if I can get another one?
You can get Leisure. Yeah,
sure.
So you got
That's
that
it,
right.
me
You can
either.
go right over to Leisure.
Oh, there, is that it?
What you wanted to see if you can get another one of the coaches?
Yeah.
Oh, what would your other guess be?
My other guess was going to be Jamie Johnson.
Nope. Tom Landry, John Madden, Marv
Tom
Levy,
Landry.
and Bill Belichick and Andy Reid. So good job getting Marv Levy there. On to the Leisure side, sir.
Do you know what category you'd like?
Let's run through those again one real fast.
We got the spelling bee, what can it IMDb, the pun name game, and a century ago questions from 1924.
Let's do that spelling bee.
Let's do it. Your word is dilate.
Dilate. Like dilated pupils or something?
Correct.
like
Yes.
that?
To make her become
that
wider,
works.
larger, more open, her eyes are dilated with horror.
That's right.
Dilate. D-I-L-A-T-E.
Nice job.
Total confidence, total
That's right.
correctness. I may have been spelling dilate wrong my
You
entire
put an
life.
A in front of the L?
Yeah, maybe I pronounce it wrong.
Dilate?
Yeah, I
Instead
would
of
go
dilate?
dial, D-I-A-L, and you're not.
Those vowels get you.
Those vowels get me. Don't be late to Johnny Stafford.
D-I-A-L-E-A-T, dial 8. Or dial, D-I-A-L-E-I-G-H-T.
That's how I spell
That'd be
it.
dial eat, by the way. The other one.
That's what I
A-T-E
do.
would have been dial 8.
Just dilate. D-I, late. Who knew? I didn't know. You
All right,
knew.
wait.
All right, Charles, we'll put you on hold, get your information. Congratulations. Dial
Good job,
it. You got
Charles.
it. Thank you for getting the coaches one right, because Avery's up next, and that would have been an easy layup for him. So there is no question out there for Avery to call in and request, but he is up right now. Avery, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Hey, boys.
What's
yeah,
up?
I was sitting there with John Madden. I was like, John Madden. Just messing up my hands.
Here's a guy that couldn't get John Madden.
Do you still have the Royals Edition category?
I don't have them currently.
Not
put off.
presently, no. Not an eligible
probably-
choice.
All right, let me do IMDb.
Probably grab
Ooh,
him.
okay, I'll get over to the IMDb.
come
Don't
back
give
over
him.
to
He doesn't.
sports.
Just let him pick his category. With a plan to exact revenge on a mythical shark that killed his partner, an oceanographer rallies a crew that includes his estranged wife, a journalist, and a man who may or may not be his son.
Is that the plot of Deep Blue Sea?
It is not the plot of Deep Blue Sea.
I wish it was, though.
Well, I'm glad I didn't answer Deep Blue Sea.
Yeah, I know. That was really about if Dylan wanted to buzz you on that or not. That was really Dylan, our rules analyst in the booth.
Can I guess Megalodon?
Yeah, sure. Do you want to guess Megalodon?
I will guess Megalodon, and then I will leave you guys to your lovely day. Have a good one, guys.
Avery, thank you.
Thanks,
I appreciate
Avery.
it. We were looking for Sharknado, right?
We were
And
looking
that's
for
it.
Sharknado 2, actually. That's when the wife gets involved.
Damn it.
He knows it's his son in Sharknado 1.
Let's go to Andrew next up on Sports Radio 810. Andrew, sports or leisure?
Let's go leisure, and let's go 1924.
Let's do it. An NFL stadium opened in 1924 as Municipal Grant Park Stadium. Which team's stadium was it?
Oh my! Thought I'd get an easy one since I picked that category.
There's a easy hit that can come through if it feels like you're maybe sniffing around the right direction.
But you got to sniff first, apparently.
You got to sniff a little. I'm not gonna
Old
do it.
NFL team.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe they're hosting the AFC Championship this week. Now, I don't think that Baltimore was around that long.
They weren't.
Is it a current NFL team?
It is a current NFL team. That's hint part 1. Actually, how about that? It is a current NFL team. It's not. I'm not asking for the, whoop-de-doodle Cardinals or whatever.
Oh, gotcha.
Doodle.
It is a current name and mascot.
You're thinking of
exactly the same.
Thinking of the Walla Walla
The
Cardinals.
Walla Walla Cardinals always get me.
Then they moved to Seattle to become the Seattle Seahawks. But
You getting any closer on 1924? I think there's a team that's very closely associated with it. I think.
I would.
You know it, Jason? You think?
I'm only. I
Trying
can
to
guess.
think of the
one
oldest
team.
teams that I can think of. God. I think it's got to be somewhere north.
I'm gonna give you the one. I'm gonna give you the one hint
The
here.
one hint.
The second real hammer of a hint. Stadium still standing, still in use.
Just different name.
Well, I'm debating between two teams, and gosh, well, it wouldn't be Soldier Field, and it wouldn't be Lambeau because they hadn't been named that yet. Let's go Green Bay Packers.
It is not the Packers.
Not Green Bay.
Andrew, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it. 913-3-810-810. Let's go to Craig next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Craig, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
I'm going to try with that answer or that question. Is it Soldier Field?
Indeed it is. Dylan gave you the wrong button there.
It is Soldier Field.
Yeah, it opened in 1924 as Municipal Grant Park Stadium. I believe it was the next year that it was renamed Soldier Field, and still out there kicking. So you get to go to the sports side, which I know is great.
I saw it because it was next to Grant Park. So
there you go. Yeah, that's a great bit of knowledge that would have definitely helped. So good work.
Makes sense.
See, that's using your real brain knowledge to answer a question, and that's how this game is meant to be played.
Well done, Soldier Field.
I wouldn't go that far.
The oldest stadium in the NFL, and then Lambeau, and then Arrowhead.
It's crazy. Which oldest stadium in the AFC.
And then fourth is Buffalo's stadium that they're getting ready
for
to
now.
Yep, for now. All right, on to the sports side. Yep, go ahead.
By the way, the Bill Stadium looks like it needs to be torn down. Anyway,
it's on the way.
Well, they're getting a new one.
They're working on it,
They are
better
working
put
on
a
that.
dome on that thing.
Well, that would be smart, but they're not. So.
Yeah, they're like us.
What do you want on the sports
Go
side,
ahead.
sir? NFL and Chiefs playoffs.
Chiefs playoffs, I guess.
Chiefs playoffs for you. Okay.
You're on a heater right now. Don't sound so defeated.
That's exactly right.
You're up 1-0.
What two cities do the Chiefs have at least 3 playoff wins against?
Oh.
Say that again.
What two cities do the Chiefs have at least 3 playoff wins against? One of them, they have 4.
Oh.
The other one, they have
Goodness.
3.
Really?
Yeah, that's true. It's true story. Cities.
Oh, Miami?
Miami is incorrect, Craig. Miami is incorrect. Thank you, sir. Their first win against Miami came a couple of weeks ago.
Interesting.
Because they were defeated. They were 0-3 in the playoffs against Miami.
That makes sense. They're pretty good.
So yeah, they now have 1 win against Miami, not 3. Let's go to B next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. B, Sports or Leisure.
WHB.
WHB, you're up. Sports or Leisure.
Let's go sports.
All right, we got that question out there. We also have plenty of other NFL and other Chiefs playoffs.
Let's go Chiefs playoffs.
All right. Not that one? Very good. Let's go with who has the most touchdown receptions in Chiefs postseason history after Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill?
Wow.
Most touchdown receptions. It's a little bit of a trick question to a degree. A little bit, so I'll give you a hint there. A little bit of a trick question because, touchdown receptions doesn't have to really be a wide receiver. But, so just any player for the Chiefs that, most touchdown receptions after Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill. It's 4, by the way.
Even with that hint, there's like 3 decent guesses, which is crazy.
Because the record book is written in this era of Chiefs football.
Right.
Okay. Tyreek Hill, Travis. Not those 2 guys.
Nope. The next one. Obviously, a lot of Travis and a lot of Tyreek. I'll tell you this. This person is not going to be able to catch any more touchdowns for the Chiefs. So,
Just meaning he's not active.
He doesn't play for the Chiefs anymore.
Okay, that's
he does. He does not.
I was trying to figure out if there's an underlying thing there that would have clarified it more.
Yeah, that's. I figured that was sort of the clarification.
Yeah,
of
that
like,
makes sense.
Boy.
He's not a current
He
Chief player.
could come back.
I mean, I guess he could. I don't even. Where did he play this year? I don't even know. Let's see.
D-Rob.
Dang it. B, you are, that is incorrect. Thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it. That question is out there available to call in and request. He was close, though, by the way. He was very close.
The answer or the guess was
Well, he was close with the D.
right. Sure. And who isn't?
Shane next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Shane, Sports or Leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Hey guys, can I do that first Chiefs playoff question you had?
Yeah,
the
absolutely.
town?
The two cities. Yeah, what two cities have do the Chiefs have at least 3 playoff wins against? They have one that's 4 wins.
How many cities?
2 different cities.
2 different cities. Okay.
They have at least 3 playoff wins against.
Well, Buffalo's one.
Buffalo's 4. They had 3. Now they have 4. I know what you meant. Yes.
Yeah.
And what's the other city? Specifically saying city for a reason.
Yeah, that's my guess. I'm glad you said that 'cause that's what I was thinking. 'Cause I think it's against 2 different teams from the same city.
Yep.
It's Houston.
Houston, that is correct. 1 against the Oilers, 2 against the Texans. So Buffalo and Houston, the teams or cities that the Chiefs have beaten the most in the playoffs. On to the Leisure with Josh.
We've got one IMDb question out there, and then every other category.
Well, I do love those IMDb questions. I'm probably just going to go ahead and go for it.
Did you hear the one that's out there already, or do you want a different one?
Did I? I was listening from the beginning, but no, let's do it.
New one? Okay. An oddball journalist and his psychopathic lawyer traveled to Nevada for a series of psychedelic escapades.
By the way, the player that has the I was wondering where this player where he played this year, because he doesn't play for the Chiefs anymore, with the 3rd most receiving touchdowns in Chiefs history.
Did he play this year?
He has played 16 total games since leaving the Chiefs.
Yeah,
I think I'm right.
And that was a number of years ago, by the way. So it's not like he left the Chiefs this year. He's played 16 games since he left the Chiefs. What, did he leave him last year? No. Go ahead, Shane.
I think I got it. Johnny Depp and Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas.
Oh, nice.
You got it.
Well done.
Nevada led you there, fittingly. That felt like a
well done.
fair thing to leave in.
Shane, we'll put you on hold, get your information. Congratulations, sir. 913-381-0810. Playing some Sports or Leisure for Johnny's Tavern. $25 to Johnny's Tavern. We'll take a timeout, come back, continue rolling. More Zone right after this. All right, we continue right here on Sports Radio 810 WHB, heading up until 2 o'clock. Sports or Leisure, presented by Johnny's Tavern. $25 we're giving away to Johnny's Tavern, premier sports bar in Kansas City. 10 locations, including Lawrence and Topeka. 913-381-810. Category on the sports side, we've got just general NFL football, and we have questions pertaining to Chiefs in the playoffs, and a couple of questions that have to do specifically with this game matchup, players/coaches involved from both teams. What about on the leisure?
We've got a century ago, questions pertaining to the year 1924. We've got the commonly misspelled word spelling bee, although the difficulty on that, at least for me, is going up. We'll see. What could an IMDb? I give you the IMDb synopsis of a movie. You tell me what the movie is, and the pun name game, where if you don't know, maybe wait for someone else to pick it first, and it's my pride and joy of sports or leisure.
All right, to the phone line. Back to the phone lines we go. Jeff, next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jeff, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Sports.
All right, we've got NFL play or NFL just general and Chiefs playoffs.
Chiefs playoffs.
All right, Chiefs playoffs for you. We got a question out there about the touchdown receptions, or we have a number of fresh ones. What do you say?
I'll take that touchdown question.
All right, who has the most touchdown receptions in Chiefs postseason history after Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill?
Oh, on the Chiefs.
On the Chiefs, yeah. On the Chiefs after Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill, who has the most? I can give you another one if you want Chiefs playoffs. I mean, but
yeah,
be specifically to the Chiefs. All right. This group of Chiefs players, this current group of Chiefs players, are rewriting the record books for games played in the postseason. 7 of the top 8 players in postseason games played in Chiefs history are current players. Who is the only player in the top 8, number 5 actually, in games played that's not on this current team? I feel like an echo. Do I have an echo?
If you got your radio up and you want to turn that down for us a little bit, might be nice.
I just want to hear myself. I'm trying to.
Sorry about that.
That's all right.
I'm self-scouting in real time.
Yeah, it's nice. We get to listen back and everything. It's okay.
Usually I listen.
He's still in the league.
You know what? He is still in the league. Barely, but he's still in the league.
Playing right now.
He's not currently playing on any team.
Frank Clark.
Not a bad guess.
It's not Frank Clark.
But
Boy, that sounded like
Frank
a good guess
Clark.
to me.
It's a good guess, Jeff. It's a good guess, Jeff. But it's not Frank Clark. Thank you, sir. Thank you for playing. Appreciate it, man.
That's a good
913-381-810. What a good guess.
I don't know the answer to this one.
You don't?
I don't think so. He's 5th?
Yeah. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5th. Craig next up on Sports Radio 810. Craig, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Am I a dummy?
Let's do the leisure.
Okay, which category?
1924.
All right. 2 future presidents were born in 1924. Originally, this said name one. Really? I just say name both. I'll say name one of them.
Ew.
2 future presidents. There aren't that many presidents. You got a pretty good idea of the age range.
Probably going to have to go 40 years ahead of time.
I would say that start at least maybe quite a bit more than that.
Oh. Nixon?
It is not Nixon. Craig, thank you for playing, man. 913-381-810. Let's go to Keith. Next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Keith, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Let me do sports.
All right, we got NFL and we have Chiefs playoffs. We got a question out there about the Chiefs, a couple of questions out there about the Chiefs, actually.
I think I know all of them, but I want to try a new one because I ain't really sure.
All right, very good. A new Chiefs playoff question?
Yes.
All right. Let's see. Rashee Rice had his 130 receiving yards in the game against the Miami Dolphins. There are 6 other games where a player had more than 130 receiving yards in a game for the Chiefs. Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill own 4 of the 6. Name either of the 2 players that had more than 130 receiving yards in a game in the postseason.
Oh, boy. I knew the one you asked me I wasn't going to know.
Well, I mean, you could throw a dart at one of the other ones that are already out there.
Okay, let me try the other one then. Let me try Williams on the touchdown.
Damian Williams is correct. See, well done.
Yeah.
Well done. Damian Williams The third most receiving touchdowns in Chiefs postseason history behind Travis Kelce and Tyreek Hill.
I thought I knew all the other ones, and you was going to ask me a question I didn't know.
It's all good. Keith, over on to Leisure with Josh.
Do you know what category you'd like? We've also got a president question out there and an IMDb synopsis out there.
Let's try the president. I think I know the president.
Okay. 2 future presidents were born in 1924. Name one of them.
Let's do Ronald Reagan.
It's not Ronald Reagan either.
Dang.
Oh, man.
Yeah. Keith, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it. 913-381-0810. Carter next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Carter, sports or leisure?
Hey, I'll start with leisure, please.
Okay, what category?
I want to go ahead and do that 1924, and I think the answer is Jimmy Carter.
Jimmy Carter is one of them.
Are you named after Jimmy Carter, Carter?
Whoa, Carter.
No.
Okay. Well, it's funny because I saw Carter up here, and I'm like, did they think that he was saying he wanted to answer the question about Jimmy Carter, so they wrote the name Carter down on the call screener?
Is the next caller's name H.W. Bush by any chance? Those are the two.
That's one of my favorite presidents right there.
Well,
Those
there
are
you
two.
go.
H.W. and Jimmy Carter, both born in 1924. Statistically, that's a huge outlier. I mean,
It really is.
Usually presidents get either 4 or 8 years. Some of them, not less than that. But, I mean, statistically speaking.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm not sure what the 4 or 8 years has to do with the 1924.
Well, how rare it would be for 2 presidents to be born in the same year because it's not like, they're not the same ages and everything. But
Were they born in the same hospital?
I'll look into it.
That would have been crazy. On to the Chiefs side, Carter, we've got NFL, or on to the sports side, I should say, NFL and Chiefs playoffs.
Hey, do you have any questions out there? I can't remember.
Yeah, we got one about the Chiefs' record book for games played in the postseason. That question is out there. And also Chiefs players with more than 130 receiving yards in a game.
Can you
Actually,
repeat
I don't think that's Chiefs playoffs, though, by the way. So
Can you repeat the games played in the playoffs question?
Yes, I can. Let's go with that one because I'm questioning the other one there. I think that got carried over from something a while ago. This group of Chiefs players in this current era are rewriting the record books for games played in the postseason. 7 of the top 8 players in postseason games played are current players. Who is the only player in the top 8, he's number 5 overall, in games played that's not on the current team?
I'm going to say Charvarius Ward.
Ward is not a bad guess, but Ward is incorrect as well. Carter, thank you for playing, man. I appreciate it. Charvarius Ward. I'm not going to ask that Rashee Rice one. I'm just going to mark that one off. That's no longer out there and available. I've been completely doubting myself on that, but we'll go back. If somebody else goes to leisure, I'll look it up to see if it's
I don't know the answer to this question.
Jesse next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. Jesse, sports or leisure?
Sports.
All right, we've got NFL and we have Chiefs playoffs.
Chiefs playoffs.
All right, we got a question out there currently on games played, and we also have a couple of fresh ones that have to do with the game coming up this weekend. And you know what? That question was correct about postseason. So we also have one about receiving yards in the postseason. So
New one.
New one for you. It's going to be about the games coming up this weekend, though, or at least the Ravens game and Chiefs game. Odell Beckham Jr. has played for 7 different head coaches in his career. 2 of them are coaching in the game on Sunday. Who are they? One's a free space.
Okay, I was gonna.
Yes,
I know
one's
how to ask
John
that.
Harbaugh.
John
Yeah,
Harbaugh. There's
okay.
your free space. And there was another coach that'll be coaching in the game this weekend that was a head coach for Odell Beckham Jr. at one point in his career. May have heard from him today.
Really?
Head coach. May have been interim.
I would
for
say
4 games.
interim, maybe interim
May
head
have been interim
coach.
for 4
All
games.
right, you sly dog.
May have been an interim for 4 games.
When you got me and Dylan both looking at you funny,
Yeah.
I trust Dylan on this one.
May have been interim for 4 games.
Okay, gotcha.
But he was his head coach.
Yeah.
He's one of 7 because Odell Beckham Jr. has played for 2 different interim coaches in his career. So 2 of the 7 have been interim coaches. Cleveland.
Uh-huh.
He had an interim coach in Cleveland. It was who was the interim coach?
I don't know. They're very funny names to remember this.
Because it was Kitchens.
I was thinking about Kitchens.
Remember, it was Greg Williams and Todd Haley as a grudge match to who got the job.
I forgot about that. Yes. That's why these little chips in memory lane are worth it.
Aren't they fun?
crap.
It wasn't crap either.
It
wasn't Coach Crap.
It was not Coach Crap.
Nope.
I'm
It's a coach this weekend. It's coaching this weekend, and it's obviously not Andy Reid, so it's got to be an assistant
Is
coach.
it
So
defensive or offensive?
I mean, it's a coach this weekend. Coaching this weekend. Coaching this weekend for one of the teams. What do you say?
Spags or Nagy?
Well.
Spags.
Spags is right.
Hey!
Nice job, Steve Spagnuolo was a interim coach for 4 games with the Giants when Odell Beckham Jr. was in New York. Went 1-3, but he was a head coach for Odell Beckham Jr. See, you got
That's
that
a
right,
good
Jesse.
question.
Well, thank you, Josh.
I like that one.
I appreciate that. I like
Tricky.
you.
Well,
that question likes you.
Okay, I appreciate that.
On to
question.
leisure with Josh.
What category would you like?
Spelling.
Spelling. All right. Your word is liquefy. You think you doubt yourself, Jason? I Google every single time there's a spelling word now. I have it written out in 3 different places.
Yeah, so it was. You're right. It was Greg Williams that was the interim there in Cleveland. So
Williams.
Hugh Jackson, Greg Williams, and then Kitchens, and then he was off to other places. Was Odell? But anyway, sorry.
Liquefy.
Are you ready?
Yes.
We're ready to go.
Yes.
Liquify.
You added just one vowel in there. L-I-Q. I don't think we leave these out for open guesses.
Yeah.
L-I-Q-U-E-F-Y.
Thank you, sir. Jesse, I appreciate it. 913-381-1010. That would have absolutely got me.
You thought he had it?
I thought
because that was right. So this is why I Google it every time. Where did he had an extra I? Was that right? Like liquid and then
I think
E-F-Y?
I think he just used an I instead of an E.
Yeah, he just said L-I-Q-U-I-F-Y.
I-F-Y.
Which is how I
E-F-Y.
would have spelled it.
Same.
Yep.
I did not know it was L-I-Q-U-E-F-Y. Is that like the UK spelling?
Oh
Like
man,
the
this is when
defense with a C?
this is when I start getting. This is when I get nervous about it. This is the word.
Defense with a C?
Does it matter? Does it matter if it's a verb?
I think it might.
Whoa, hold
now
on.
I'm seeing liquefy.
I'm all. If you Google it with an I, so liquefy with an E is something. Hold on, I'm on it. Is to reduce to a liquid. But Merriam-Webster has it with an E. I'm on it.
Damn it, Merriam and Webster. Which one? Ask Merriam or Webster. Which one was
Merriam
arguing
says
for
it's an E and Webster says it's an I.
Jeremy next up on Sports Radio 810 WHB. We'll get to the bottom of that and see if Jesse was a winner. But Jeremy, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
I don't make these up myself. You know that.
I know you don't. But it is a fun one where it's a tough word for you to spell because it's even tougher because we've got Google and still arguing over it. Jeremy, sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with? Jeremy, are you there? Jeremy?
Hold on. I was on mute.
There we go. You're
Bark
good.
twice if you're in Albuquerque. All right, Jeremy, we got you now. Sports or leisure, what side do you want to start with?
Gonna take a left turn in Albuquerque. Liquefy.
We already spelled it, guy.
No.
Yeah. I spelled it, and there's still disagreement.
Yeah, there's
so
still
it's
disagreement. What's
every time I type it with an I,
Why?
Because we love you.
Right.
M-O-U-S.
Right. That's you got it. But I've given the answer.
Oh, he's gone.
Oh, he's gone.
He's gone.
Okay.
And gone. Jeremy.
Sorry, Jeremy.
And gone this segment. And gone Josh's credibility.
I mean, that's
on spelling.
Hasn't been here for a while.
All right, wrapping up the Thursday edition of The Zone.
I'm standing by my liquefying.
As you should.
Dictionaries keep putting with ease.
But you did sort of melt there when we wondered if that was the correct spelling or not.
Because this isn't me being the arbiter of all things spelling. This is me creating a category that I would also struggle in.
Yeah, for sure. And that was shown as evidence.
You said I melted? You could almost say that I turned to liquid.
That's what I already said. Said you melted, and I said, or you could say liquefied while you were talking.
I'm sorry, I was talking, so I wasn't listening to what you were saying because I was really busy thinking about what I was going to say.
You know, when your mouth is moving, your ears are shut off.
To defend myself. I'm usually pretty good at talk listening.
Like I'm talking about.
I mean, I feel like we could just. I mean, I think I could understand you while you're talking right now. We're both understanding each other. Dylan, how are you?
All right, let's get to the question that we did not get an answer to in the Chiefs.
What the bleep? Who the bleep is the answer to this question?
Come on, you know the answer to this question.
He's playing now.
He's not playing now. He is not currently. On the team.
Sorry, not. But he played this season.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. You were just as shocked as this person being an answer to a question last week.
Oh God!
With L'Jarius Sneed and tackles.
Don't test my retention of things.
This person is also leading the Chiefs in postseason tackles of all time. And you were like, what?
Was it Anthony Hitchens last time, too?
No.
That doesn't make any sense.
Dan Sorensen.
Holy bleep.
Dan Sorensen, number one in Chiefs tackles in the postseason. That was a question we had last week. L'Jarius Sneed needs 11 more.
Crazy.
By the way, Nick Bolton is right there. And Nick Bolton is quickly catching up to Sneed. Sneed has been pretty securely in second place for a number of games. But now Sneed is sitting at 67. Nick Bolton is now up to 65. And Dan Sorensen is at 78. Nick Bolton will have the record before his career is done with Kansas City, because he needs 13 tackles to tie Dan Sorensen, and he still has one more year to play with the Chiefs. One more game this weekend, and then one more year.
Do you have the top 5 of games played, or like where Sorensen lands there? If you don't, it's fine.
Top 5 of games played. I may have erased.
That's fine.
That.
I'm trying to figure out like why there aren't 5 guys who have been on more of, who have just simply played more games, but there has been enough turnover that it's not like there's a Mahomes Kelsey of every group here. Jones has to be up there. I'm guessing it's Mahomes, Kelsey, Jones,
Winchester.
So then was Sorensen 5?
Sorensen is tied for 5.
Okay, tied for 5. So yeah, I don't know who else would be there at 5. But then there you go. Yeah, those are your 4s.
Tied for 5.
Your 4s.
Tie 5.
Tie 5. We get a little look. We're talking about 5 guys, burgers, fries, etc.
Naughty's in there as well.
Oh yeah, okay. He's the only one from that draft class. So you've got a whole rookie contract, and he's got an extra year. That's a fun one. I like that. It also just goes to highlight how much turnover there has been on these teams.
Here we go. Travis Kelce and James Winchester tied with 20.
Okay.
Harrison Butker and Chris Jones tied at 17 games played.
Oh, whoa, really?
Daniel Sorensen and Patrick Mahomes tied at 16 games played.
Dan Sorensen and Patrick Mahomes have played the same number of Chiefs playoff games.
Derek Nottie has played in 15 postseason games. And Nick Allegretti has played in 14 postseason games.
Wow.
Tyreek Hill, DeMarcus Robinson, and Anthony Sherman, 13.
Wow.
So those are your making up top 10 or whatever, even a little bit more than top 10.
James Winchester and Nick Allegretti, man.
James Winchester, Nick Allegretti, Harrison Butker.
Can't tell the story of the Chiefs, the dynasty they're building without those guys.
Without James Winchester, no.
Cannot do it.
Guys played in as many postseason games as Travis Kelce. He played in the most. James Winchester has played in the most postseason games in Chiefs history. Tied with Kelce at 20.
And this is something maybe we bring up tomorrow, I don't know, with Kendall.
Mahomes will finally pass Daniel Sorensen on Sunday for games played in a Chiefs uniform.
But James Winchester has been in the second or third most stressful position on the field in several enormous moments.
Yeah.
Got to get that ball exactly where it needs to be.
He's come through.
He really has.
He's come through.
Icon.
So, Sorensen still top 5. Well, after this weekend, Sorensen will be tied for 6th.
We got that question in this week.
But not with Derek Nottie, because Nottie's not going to play. Yeah. So, no questions for you that were out there?
Yeah, nobody knew a movie, but we can sit on it for next week, I guess.
Let's just sit on that.